Okay, this is episode 69 of Summoning Insight, and as always, sponsored by Alpha Draft. And the thing about Alpha Draft is, Alpha Draft to me represents reality, because the thing about Alpha Draft is, you can't just like think something and then it be shown to be wrong over and over again and just deny it completely, because the money will literally not be there in terms of winnings. And likewise, if you're not sure about something but it turns out to happen, you get the money. It doesn't matter. There's no need for debate or excuses or pandering or whatever. So the thing about Alpha Draft is, Monte has actually learned this. It's become like a philosophy and a way of life for him, because what happened was, initially he thought, like a lot of fans out there, he's a fan, he thought like a lot of fans out there, I can just put together a team of people I think's good and it'll probably be really successful. And all the yes men around him were like, yeah, Monty, oh yeah, sick team, yeah, probably good. And then, oh yeah, I saw that one like Ramelia clip with the Thresh when she hit the challenger guy, yeah, it was sick, sick, new mad life. And then they put the team into LCS and reality said, no, I'm sorry my friend, that really won't do. No, and then, no, stop now, stop. And then he eventually, what he did was, through some sort of demonic pact with like this demon who we thought we'd exercise called Chris Badawi, magically some better players came from another team and joined Renegades. And that's actually another key part that Monty learned from Alpha Draft, is when you've done something wrong and you've picked the wrong players, you're allowed to pick better players next week, and you can pick players from other teams. That's what Monty learned there as well. See, he's taken the whole philosophy. And also what he learned was, even when you take better players but the whole team isn't actually better, he also learned what I've taught him through Alpha Draft, which is it's funnier to win games when your team isn't actually better over teams that are in fact better on paper. So he's learned my swag philosophy, and in many ways Alpha Draft has totally revolutionized Monty's life. It's taught him everything he needs to know about how to run an LCS team. So I'm Thorin, obviously the proponent, propagator of Alpha Draft philosophy.
By the way, Thorin, is there nothing safe from you at all? So I remember you made this video about the Renegades CSGO team where you were critical of me and the Renegades management for not swapping players out fast enough and for giving them too much time. And now apparently I'm just doing it far too quickly.
No, I'm not saying... No, mate, you did it far too late in the League of Legends team as well, by the way. You should have done this on, like, week 3 or something. In fact, what you should have done was had, like, a little... Basically, you should have done it, like, in the Dark Knight. You should have just got all the team that made it out of Challenger and snapped the pool queue and said, we're going to have trials. So, there we go. Half the team gets in, the other half are dead. So, we will warn you...
I actually can't argue with that. We actually should have made some roster changes probably a bit sooner. But especially because the conditions around the roster changes didn't change because... Well, actually, no, that's not true, because we actually couldn't field Ninja before that week anyway because he was banned. So that's the reason why the trade happened in the first place with TDK, is because they were going to be unable to play against Ember with Ninja, and they didn't really have a suitable mid laner, and therefore by making the trade, it was mutually beneficial to both teams. Okay. So we actually couldn't have played Ninja until we did.
Okay, excellent piece of triangulation there, Monty, where you tried to represent two positions and show how it was beneficial for both, but ultimately benefited you. So, Monte Cristo, my usual co-host, and since it's episode 69, Dexter, I know that Monty, as a student of esoteric thinking, knows the importance of numerology, okay, that numbers represent certain things. So I thought, I won't even make it some like deep occult meaning, okay? I just thought I'd get two people who love to just suck each other off all the time for episode 69, because two people, it's a mutual fuck fest. So here we go.
Shouldn't that be you and Forgiven then?
I think I reckon Forgiven quite a lot. So, I mean, put it this way, you don't realise, here's what people don't realise, they think I'm just like, it's true, in general I'm not like super savage on people in private always, but with people like Forgiven, I'm more savage if anything. Like, he was messaging me the other day, I can't tell you what he was saying, but he was saying like, so,
no one can, because nobody can understand his accent. But that's
he was saying like, this team there's no way this team is going to lose to, I'll just say Team X. And I said, what, you mean like when SK Gaming played Unicorns of Love? And he just like didn't reply for about 15 minutes, even though anything else you message him, he like instantly replies, like super fast. In fact, the second you start typing, it'll say like Forgiven and start typing. So I was like, yep, take that in, Forgiven, ruminate on that one, mate, let it hurt, let the pain radiate out, and then come back with an answer. So anyway, the guest this week...
You'd think he'd be used to it after Vander and Jankos have like formed the Twitter banter squad of Europe now.
Yeah, you would. But I also think, from what I've seen, I think that they wreck Forgiven a little bit, but I think they know he's like a sensitive, delicate flower, so they don't go super hard at him. They don't tend to go super hard on. Well, what I love is before they were doing it on ex-teammates and teammates. Now they just do it on everyone in the league. Like they just like shit on like perks all the time. It's wicked. They actually, I think they even. My favorite is that Jankos even does it on people who haven't really even deserved it. Like he'll just actually make a joke on himself. Like he said something like, "If I don't play well this week, I'm going to be replaced by Lulex," which is like. That is sort of a joke on you, but it's also like kind of a bigger joke on Lulex, isn't it? Jankos, like
I like how he wrecked his Selfie when Selfie was actually substituting for them, but they didn't have Ryu. And
that was Banda, yeah, it was good, right? It's the way they literally did it when he broke down in tears, but they did it like right after the game as well. They didn't like, I mean, maybe they patted him on the back or something, but I imagine like Vander's like, yeah, are you alright, mate? I've got to tweet something. Excuse me, I'll see you in the green room. So yeah, this little pussy crying probably has to go back to NA. Like, alright, mate, fucking hell, team playing that. Then again, though, he wasn't in the team anymore, so he couldn't come back to bite them. So they'd actually learned from that. So okay, we've got Dexter here. How are you, Dexter?
I'm good. A bit tired, but all good.
So you now actually... I've seen you've been doing those interviews for the Score. What is your position? Because on your Twitter it still says freelance. So is it like just for this split you're doing interviews for them? What is your current status in life?
Yeah, I'm just freelancing for them and do like events and other stuff. But right now it's just like a weekly thing where I agree on a weekly basis to just do the interviews because it gives me the freelance status still. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, see, much like me, you don't let yourself get tied down by one organisation, because here's the key thing, Dexter. Much like me, you've learned from being a player. If you do a good job, but public don't like the way it goes, you can get fired from that org. So the key thing is never work for one org, Dexter. Never love one person. Just spread your love around, but never give it fully to anyone. This is a message for life. Never give it fully to anyone. Give them just enough that they feel like they're satisfied. They always want more. They always want your full affections, but you never give them that full affection. And then one day, eventually, they look back and they think, oh, what could I have done differently? And they ruin that they never... I don't even know if ruin even means... I'm making words up. I'm like James Joyce. No, I'm like James Joyce. They ruin. It's actually a double meaning there, like in Ulysses. So... Anyway, Dexter's here, I'm here, Monty's here. That's how the show works. So these three people in these boxes will now talk. Also, Dexter, you've got the ominous sort of honour of following up Amazing in his appearance on Summoning Insight, but that will allow me to now paraphrase an old joke that I said, which is to say, Dexter, you're my favourite German jungler we've ever had on the show.
Yeah.
So a little bit of BM on the last guest. Why not? Right? He's not even here. So then again, I did let him talk for like 2 hours about his fucking dreams of what might have happened in his career if like 17 different games went the other way, drastically so. So I think I was pretty fair to him overall.
Did he give you the same speech of TSM going to the finals? If
it was worse than that, mate. It was worse. It was worse than that.
It, sadly, but I can imagine what was said. Yeah.
He actually used that classic logic. I'll explain it right now, actually, because it's a pertinent point to LCS. My favourite type of logic, Monty, I've realised, isn't just the sort of pipe dream. It's one thing if someone just does a pipe dream, says, oh, I think we should have beaten that team, or I think we could have beaten that team. He went further and did the thing that tilts me the most, where they do this, Monty. They did exactly what we knew they'd do. Why didn't you beat them? Because we didn't do any of the things that would have predicated on that, because we thought they wouldn't do that. It's like that, please, I need this brain. I have to get through my life and like put food on that. Please, I can't. Yeah, I feel all the walls are collapsing inside my mind. Like, isn't that the stupidest logic ever, Monty? The logic of like, well, since I actually technically sort of knew you'd do that, but didn't do any of the things I'd need to stop that, and therefore you won doing that, which I consider an inferior strategy. I'm better than you. Like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, come on. What do you think of that sort of reasoning, Monty? You must have heard it before.
Me? Or?
Yes, you. He knows I've heard it before.
Oh, well, Dexter, what do you think of that?
I've heard it before too, It's, I talk to him on a daily basis at the studio. And yeah, of course, we like to relive the moments from the past.
Okay.
Where everything was good.
But I mean, pro players in general do actually, they have that approach a lot. Like I've noticed the one thing you can never do with a pro player is tell them something like, oh yeah, you should have banned that champion. Yeah, I know we should have. But the last second we changed our mind. It's like, well, you didn't really know you were going to do it then, did you? Like, you can't go with that every time. But you have to be accountability.
I mean, that happens a lot. It happens like every single time, and I can remember the moment when I was still on CLG and we practiced like a strategy for 3 weeks in Korea, and then last one was like,
time.
Yeah, I was like, nah, that doesn't work anymore. We just do this, and then we just played something else that we never played before. It was pretty fun.
Wait a minute. See, you've still got that mentality, Dexter, that players have where they don't want to reveal the strategy. Now listen, it's 2 years later, mate. I'll reveal the strategy.
I don't even know what happened there.
Listen, there was all that Monty did is for 2 weeks. For 2 whole weeks, Monty had this whole system, okay? And basically, it was called like Civicomp 1.0, Civicomp 1.1, Civicomp 1.3, and then what happened is just before the game went live, Link was like, you know what, it's just a Civicomp, like, we'll just pick something else. Like that would be unfair, actually. That's what a chivalrous fellow Link was. He knew it would actually be unreasonable to just win just using Civ and abusing it. So he decided to pick a bunch of champions that made no sense. And I think he picked... Was that the one where he picked TF in that series and Karthus? He just basically picked like non-meta picks and lost the series. But it was all worth it, because in the end, you know that famous saying, Monty, that like journalists sometimes have where they'll say like, oh, I'm going to put that in my book, you know, my book that I'll write about my life. Turns out Link was actually living his whole career like that. He was just waiting. He was going, listen, this is fucked up. I'm ruining my whole career, but it's going to be a wicked story for that document that I've got coming up. Like that little Vampire Chronicles, the Link story that I'm working on. So, sadly, haven't heard from Link since RIP. So, okay, let's start out with, I guess Dexter watches the NALCS. He must do, right? It's the most exciting league, I'm told.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some interesting Twitter discussions that it's not the same scripted shit, like LCK, for example, for 15 minutes, and it's always new gameplay. And yeah, I think that's the fair thing to say, that we always have new gameplay where teams just suicide or 4 people get executed on the map 3 minutes into the game, you know.
What you didn't like the double tower and the double herald execute? That was an NALCS classic, man. That's never going to be forgotten.
Beautiful.
You know, though, Dexter, what's funny is that joke that they make about LCK, I mean, it's actually just like a derogatory comment that's scripted, is actually entirely apt, because you know why it is sort of scripted? Because what happens is, the reason why the first 15 minutes go like that is each person playing their part knows what the next part's meant to be, and they respond accordingly. So it is kind of like a script. Whereas in NALCS, they're right. No one knows what's going to happen next. They don't even know what they're going to do next. And when it happens, even they're like, wow, that is surprising. Didn't know I was going to do that, actually. So I don't know if I was going to die on that dive, if I was going to survive. Am I going to get the Baron? Am I not? Hey, listen, I don't like to pin myself down, man. I like to be like a free spirit moving around the map, you know, just letting life take me where it goes. Monty's camera's spinning, but we'll keep going anyway. Much like there we go, he's back. So much like the minds of the NLCS players spin as they attempt to figure out what to do in a particular scenario. I noticed though, Monty.
Also, I would say that honestly, if we're talking about scripting, that probably scripts would improve the quality of the NALCS drastically if players were to in fact use them within the confines of League of Legends.
Well, I mean, for example, if there was a script that actually was about like the way the game should go, not just like using mechanics or whatever, then obviously if you had a team essentially scripted to win, so I've seen that happen many times in LCS, right, Monty? They win like laning phase, they're winning the first couple of team fights, they take a lot of objectives. At that point, the script would never say if that team's meant to win, just like for no reason try and take a Baron. Just risk everything on that and then maybe lose the game, which apparently still seems to be what 80% of NALCS teams do. They're like, well, we're really far ahead, we're really in the league. Is there anything we could do at that point in time? I mean, what's left but the Baron? Like final boss, like kill the final boss, you win the game. Like, well, isn't the game like based on like you attack towers and favourable fights? Yeah, but if we had a favourable fight and the Baron, wouldn't that be better? So, well, can't argue with the logic, mate. In we go. They'll probably also use that logic as well, Monty. But wait a minute, we haven't actually got like proper vision for the Baron. But have they got vision? I mean, I guess not. But then they don't know we're doing the Baron, do we? Well, what if they find out we were doing the Baron? Fuck them up then, won't we? Okay then, here we go. I think that was like a little mic check. Listen into the comms of the team there, Dexter. I actually nailed that. That was NALCS.
That was the TSM listen-in right there. I know we don't get a lot of that. I actually spent some time watching some Halo this weekend. They love to do like the listen-ins in the middle of the broadcast to hear what the teams are saying. But I think you do an accurate job of representing.
here's how a TSM listening goes. It goes like this. Like Bjergsen's like, no, move at the middle, and then Yellowstar's like, I think we should shut the fuck up, Yellowstar. Like, I'm trying to shot call here, and then Doublelift just inexplicably just talks up and just goes, gag top, and then they're like, what? It's just like, dude, just gag top. It's like, oh, okay. It's like that's like a TSM listening. So. You know what my dream is, Monty? One of the only reasons I'm actually personally in favour of allowing coaches to stand behind the teams and talk on comms, because I think it would add something extra to the game. I think especially in the NALCS and the ULCS, it would improve like the overall level of macro play. But one of the reasons I'm in favour of it
would improve the overall level of macro play in all regions, but like it wouldn't actually, I think, help them improve at international competitions, because at that point, literally Coma is behind SK Telecom shot calling. I don't think anybody wants that. Like, that team is terrifying. You really don't want that.
I don't know, Monty. I feel like it might be more distracting to SK Telecom to have a guy just sat behind going, please, Faker, please just get these kills, man. Please, like, everyone's going to find out I'm not actually a coach and you're just carrying my bitch ass. Like, please, Faker. I know I pulled you out of that burning car. You've got to, just one more time. Fingers crossed. One more time, Faker. One more time. That's actually what the strategy meetings are like in SK Telecom. And then every now and then, if Bengi's annoyed Faker, he just goes like, we're not bringing you to this next tournament, mate. Bring the sub. Bring my new what role, if Faker was the king, what role would Blank and Bengi play? They would be sort of like the, what's that boy called who like brings the king his scepter on a cushion or whatever? Yeah, that's it. They would be his page. He'd be like, Page, new page, bring me a new page. Like, and then Bengi's out the back being flogged with a cat of nine tails for losing the Africa Freaks or something. So, okay, back in reality.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Coma does nothing, despite the fact that he's won 2 world championships with majority different rosters.
Yeah, but still one common denominator. Best player of all time. Adapts to every meta, does whatever he wants, wins everything. I don't know. Coma probably does something, but I do think I suspect it's overrated. Like, I wish we could find out. I wish it was like a behind the scenes documentary or some sort of comms where you could see what he's saying before a match or something. Unfortunately, we don't have that much info, so we have to speculate at the moment. He's probably a very good coach, though. So here's my question for you, Dexter. I want to just start off by tying it into the first point about Amazing. So Amazing actually made a comment before his episode that he thinks NALCS is better than EULCS, and he actually explicitly meant in terms of understanding like the metagame. Like, he thought the EU teams didn't understand the metagame, but just had better players. What do you think on this? Agree, disagree, different opinion?
Well, I don't think NA is good at all, and I think even Immortals with a 17-1 score is probably gonna get wrecked internationally. So I'm not sure where that stuff is coming
Dexter.
from. High five. No, but when I watch them play, you can try to run like Soraka or Jenna against stuff like SKT and watch your bot lane die 4-on-2 over and over again. But in terms of macro play, I think Europe is actually. This last week was pretty bad probably, and only G2 looked pretty good. But I think for playoffs, it's going to be probably like...
I don't know. I thought UOL did pretty well in that UOL G2 game.
Oh, that's true, yeah. Unicorns had like a pretty bit of a slump.
And they beat H2K too.
Yeah, H2K looks like pretty bad right now, out of the sudden for this week. But I think overall, like, we have Team Vitality, H2K, G2 that are all a lot better probably than most of the NA teams. At least from my guess.
So wait a minute, who did you say are better than the NA teams? H2K, G2 and who?
Vitality.
Vitality, okay. They're better than even Immortals in terms of like macro, etc.
I think Immortals like the only team that can like come into this top 4 maybe, but I think the 3 teams would probably be first place in NALCS too if Immortals wouldn't be there.
See, here's the thing. If we imagine Immortals going to international play, I don't know about you, but I almost don't want to criticize them because I really hope they keep doing the same things. I really want to see frontline Wild Turtle against like the best Korean teams. I can't wait for that, mate. It should be sick. I mean, he's like, but I have a Morapel Mortius. Yeah, good job, mate. I'd just probably just go in one before there, mate. See how that works out. See how it works out for you, mate.
They're really good, and Rainover has been playing really good splits and is enabling them really well, and Tuni is completely wrecking every top laner. So basically it's like Fnatic Light, but with 3 worse players on the other positions. But overall I think IMT is gonna be fine in NA, is probably gonna win NA, and internationally I don't think they can do well because I don't think there are 3 other players from Rainover and Tuni are gonna stand up to like actually
even
S tier players.
even Huni has never shown that he can hold up to S tier Korean top laners. He really hasn't been in the same league as them. Like Smeb did fucking dirty things to him in the semifinals of the World Championship, right? So I'm skeptical about them too for the same reasons that you are. I think that if they change their playstyle and they can learn how to play a different way, or if they've only been playing that playstyle because nobody can beat them and they've got some other tricks up their sleeve, perhaps they can do something. But I don't think that their playstyle is very viable at an international event, especially given that LMS, I was watching some LMS games today, and like AHQ is a pretty good team. Like they play a lot like a Korean team actually, in terms of their objective control and their patience, and just making sure they play around actual goals without randomly dying, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for any NA team that goes to an international event not to kind of bomb out like they did last year before the playoffs and be like the lowest ranked international team out of the major regions.
To be fair, Immortals, like when I watched, for example, like week 9 of LCS, they lost their early game pretty hard and should have lost the game against any decent team. But somehow they just work some magic and win the game out of nowhere, which should not happen against better teams. Yes.
I mean, one of the things that I think is really worrying if you're an Immortals fan is that it has to be Huni. Like, it's funny, people never think this way. They always think of the weaker player in the team and they go, oh, how are the weak player? Actually, you should always think first and foremost of your strength, because the question is, when you go to the international level, will your strength be as strong? Because if they're not, immediately the team's depleted. And the problem with Huni for me is that, okay, so famously, as we've now seen from IEM and every other international tournament, Zion Spartan always looks good in NA and then basically does nothing internationally. Pretty much nothing. Huni's like a better version of like Zion Spartan in that sense. Like, he's not going to lose to everyone internationally, but the problem is, for anyone below his level, he's going to do well. He's probably even going to dump some. He's probably going to look super sick. But it's like anyone above his level, it reminds me of Zion Spartan in that sense, because it's almost like they don't know how to play against people better than them, because when they've faced someone better than them, they just keep doing the same thing. Like Zion Spartan literally tried to split push and have 1v1s with players who are, first of all, like Duke, a better Korean split pushing fucking top laner, and then people like Bang who were more fed than him and were going to beat him anyway. It's like, that's actually really bizarre to me that someone who's played that long is trying to essentially execute a strategy that couldn't work just in its premise, you know. It wasn't like an unlucky fight or something. Like, even the premise doesn't really make sense, you know. What do you think of going to the international level of this?
For like Huni?
Yeah.
I mean, when I played against Huni, it was impossible to win because he would just win every single matchup and crush my top laner. But yeah, I don't know how that works, because if he runs against, I mean, to be fair, every team that plays against Rockstar is probably going to lose anyway in the best of 5 or something internationally. But against the rest, I think he can stack up just fine, I guess. I mean, maybe he like fixed his flaws, because when I watched, I mean, North America, but he seems to be like a lot more conservative and has been playing better, I guess. Okay,
so you think if he goes against Duke or Trace, you think he's going to be all right?
I mean, it depends on the whole map.
Someday.
You know? It also depends on Rainover, because top lane is like really jungle heavy, and if Rainover can play like he does right now with the pathing, but to be fair, if he's playing against like a really good jungler too, like against Peanut or something, I don't know how that works.
I mean, that's the problem right there, isn't it? Because Rox Tigers have Peanut and Smeb, and then KT have Score and Someday. I mean, these are already better combos and better players.
And Winged has been playing really well this season on Jin Air too. So Winged and Trace are very dangerous.
And has obviously become another one of those aggressive junglers. He's not just a supportive jungler. He goes for people, right?
Yeah, he was like styling on CJ the other day on Lee Sin.
I mean, the biggest problem is I don't think that Immortals can actually play around bot lane. That's like a really big flaw, I guess. Because whenever I see them go bot lane or try to do stuff, it's like Huni is just enabling this team so hard with like everything, with TPs, with map pressure, with jungle pressure that he draws attention to, that the bot lane can just do fine. But I mean, when I watch like game goes even, then the bot lane gets wrecked most of the time, I think, against like a good bot lane.
I mean, it goes without saying, we're obviously not in any way dissing Huni, which people are going to think we are. We're just trying to extrapolate what will happen Because the key thing about him is, in NALCS, he has just gone mad for the last couple of splits. I mean, the level that he's ahead of the other top laners, in terms of like one-on-one battles, etc., does remind me of like when Bjergsen first came to NA, and he was just wrecking everyone there, you know. Like, yeah, Cloud9 as a team could beat Bjergsen, but Bjergsen was better than everyone at the position at the time. So, but the key thing was, at the same time, if you remember back then, no one would have said, oh yeah, Bjergsen will probably beat Fake. Well, I say no one. No one without like tattoos of fucking certain arcane symbols on their body that have a T around a couple of other letters. So no one that matters basically would have said that. So here's the question about Immortals. For a team that's only lost one game, why do you think people who are like analysts are a bit critical of Immortals, Dexter? I mean, they've only lost one game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was the same story with Fnatic, right? Fnatic won 18 games in a row, and still people didn't see Fnatic actually going to, like, actually analysts didn't say that Fnatic is going to go to the finals in Worlds. So I was like, yeah. That's
just because all those analysts are Korean dick suckers, and they will be proven wrong at Season 5 Worlds. Shit, it's already happened, fuck. Damn it. Next time, we'll get him next time, boys. Get him next time.
I think it's just the ultimately damning thing for the West. I mean, this Worlds was so fucking bad for the LCS regions.
Yeah.
Like, not only did like the LMS teams do pretty well, and actually both LMS teams made quarterfinals, but this was the year that it was supposed to be the West's year. Korea had lost like 50 plus players, more like maybe like 75 plus players, including all the best players on their two best teams. Yet it was the first year that we had an all Korea final. And not only that, but the myth about Korean infrastructure was absolutely exploded, because we know the Rox Tigers, I went to their house. It was like a tiny apartment that like the five guys and Nofe lived in. And they didn't have like a lot of coaches or a lot of help or a lot of infrastructure. We know from, translations of Gorilla's stream that these guys didn't even have like money to have air conditioning or heating for a lot of the time because their sponsor dropped out. So, and yet they make the world finals when Korea loses all this top talent, and when we were supposed to be catching up to Korean infrastructure. You know what I mean? It's just a fucking disaster for the West. Like, if the West, and on top of that, the West produced the best team that the West has ever produced in Fnatic, the undefeated team from Europe with Korean talent on it that was supposed to be the great hope that could maybe make the finals. I said they would reach the semifinals and stop. I didn't think they'd get 3-0'd, but they got 3-0. And that was it. Like, it was like all of the planets aligned at that one moment, and that is never going to happen again. Ever.
I mean,
my favorite as well. Yeah, okay, go on, Dexter.
I was just wondering, because we say Korean infrastructure, and then latest news just tell me that Korea is actually making a step back with sponsors pulling out, teams not getting paid, and all of that stuff. So I just wonder how can a team be that good?
Like not obviously a major team, but
with Rox Tigers, how can a team be that good if they don't even have an infrastructure? Doesn't it just
Rox Tigers, and still they don't. Rox is not a sponsor. They literally don't have a sponsor.
But isn't it overrated a bit then? Infrastructure.
Definitely. Put it this way, Dexter. Jin Air right now, we don't know for certain, but you could make a case they're the second best team in Korea right now. Jin Air Green Wings. Jin Air Green Wings is not a major sponsorship. They were sponsored essentially almost like out of pity because the old org that they used to have like dropped them, and then what happened was the woman who's like the daughter of the guy who owns
one of the daughters,
something like that.
So Jin Air is a local airline subsidiary of Korean Air, so it's owned by Korean Air. So it's the daughter, one of the daughters of the CEOs of Korean Air is an esports fan, and therefore picked up the Jin Air teams.
Yeah, and she was into StarCraft initially, and that's where they first got the sponsorship. And then after that, they got the League of Legends teams as well. Obviously, Reaper, when it was SKT and they dropped the squad, became over, and then they got the team that was like formerly AHQ Korea, if I remember, that became the Stealths, and so they built up the line. But the point is, they are now one of the best, so they've achieved success, incredible success and growth, and developed all this talent. But my point is, they don't have... I would be willing to bet money, just speculate in a speculatory manner, that they do not have as much resources as TSM. I don't think that's even an outlandish statement to make.
No,
I'll be sure that they have way more salary, way more money, way better sponsor backing, everything better in TSM than Jin Air Green Wings does. Yet Jin Air Green Wings potentially are already a better team and have already potentially accomplished more than this TSM side has. So the point here is, it's not the infrastructure doesn't matter. To me, it's like another benefit. Like if you have a good team and you have a good structure and a good coaching and you have sick infrastructure, then you've got the whole package. But the notion that it was only having super sick team houses and a lot of salary that made these players good is like, come on, man.
And the
get
coaches,
real.
to be fair, we do have to credit the fact that No Face spent years like learning from his coaches on Najin, which include Reach, right? So there's a certain system that they can learn from these really old school esports guys, and I think No Face is a very good coach now, but he was also like an older player as it was, and he spent years and years and years working with Reach, so, and the other Najin coaching staff. So it wasn't like he existed in a vacuum and like suddenly became a good coach. So I think you do have to factor that into consideration too, but the Tigers were like 5 dudes in No Face.
But this is something people don't know, though, because in League of Legends, it's true. In general, because League of Legends, when it took off in Korea, became the #1 game, and it did have all the money funneled into it, it did have one of the better infrastructures, and for a brief time, let's say like a year and a half, was ahead of the West in terms of some of the structures of everyone has a coach, everyone has a team house.
Of course.
Because of that, people actually in the West of esports really think that all of Korean esports success is based on this infrastructure, whereas you have to realise, like StarCraft 2, it wasn't until the very, like, halfway into the game that Kesper even got into StarCraft 2. Before that, it was all orgs like MVP, Incredible Miracle, who, by the way, were not big orgs. These all started as someone just made a team house and was a coach that used to be on a good squad and hoped they'd get a sponsor. And initially didn't need a sponsor because they were already in Seoul and all you had to do was get a underground ticket to the stadium. So initially you didn't even need very much money to make the team. And they already produced all the world champions back then. Then you come into right now in Dota 2, the MVP team in Dota 2 just won a tournament, right? Dota 2 isn't even a big game in Korea. Not only that, MVP is a trash org. In StarCraft 2, they were never one of the big orgs, and in League of Legends, they're locked out.
They're not a trash org. That's not fair.
Yeah, they are. Compared to SK Telecom, compared to Samsung, compared to Evil Geniuses, compared to TSM, compared to Fnatic, compared to CLG, they don't have anywhere close to the results of these teams.
MVP Phoenix also didn't win, like, the Shanghai Major, right?
No, they just won this tournament right now. They won the Dota Pit.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, that was like yesterday.
Okay. So, but, I mean...
And they finished top 4 at the Shanghai Major as well.
Yeah, to be fair, yes. They did finish extremely high at the Shanghai Major. And this is in spite of the fact that Korea doesn't even have a Dota server anymore. Like, literally, they pulled the plug on the Dota server within the last 6 months in Korea. So they have to play on the Chinese server.
But my point here, when I say trash, by the way, is relative to the best orgs in the world. Like, you can't compare... Like, because people are going to think, Monty, oh, but in StarCraft 2 they had good players. Yes, before really big orgs that were good were in StarCraft 2.
Before Kesper came in.
And then in League of Legends, unfortunately, people are going to go, but wait a minute, they had OGN champions. That was a lockout. They locked out of getting these super sick players who've gone on, by the way, to be some of the best players of all time. And what happened as soon as those players got good? They sold the fucking team. They didn't have the money to keep hold of them.
Well, they sold the team to Samsung, right? And that was also part of, like, Kespa coming into League of Legends. The selling of MVP Ozone and MVP Blue to Samsung was part of when a bunch of the orgs, the Kespa orgs, started coming into the scene, right?
But the point is, if you were a big org with a lot of money, there's no way you sell that team.
MVP actually is a very savvy org in that they play a lot of games that other Korean teams don't, like Dota. Now they just like won a shit ton of money. How much money did they win? I'm looking at it right now. Hold on.
Probably
$250,000 at the Shanghai Major. And there's not even a Korean server. And also, they have the best, they just won yesterday the Heroes of the Storm finals, MVP Black. So they've got like probably one of, if not the best Heroes of the Storm team in the world. And they have the only, like, as far as I know, professional Korean Counter-Strike team right now. So they're really, as an org, they find interesting ways to be competitive in every single game. And I don't think it's fair that you say that because, yes, they get crushed by the bigger orgs when some of them come in, but where the bigger orgs aren't, MVP is actually really good in all of those games.
But the point is, in the big esports games, in terms of resources, they are a trash org money. Essentially, here's the thing, okay? I'll give you the analogy for MVP, okay? MVP is like if, let me think which org I'll pick for, okay, let's just go with Dignitas. MVP is like if Dignitas became the world champions from the West in League of Legends. And then Korea was like, oh, it's because you had the sickest org with the most money and every team player wanted to play for you. Like, no. It's Dignitas, mate. Like, no. It's like they're like an okay org. That's some all right results.
to be fair to Dignitas too, I think Dignitas' strategy as a team is just to be as diverse as possible, because I think they have actually more pro players on their roster than pretty much any other Western team. So they have like 50 or 60 players right now, which is a lot more than most other orgs. So they don't invest very heavily, I think, into any one game, but they're super diverse in their resources when it comes to the entire market, let's say.
But here's the thing: if NALCS was the best league in the world and they had the best teams, then this would be the excuse people would use. They'd go, oh well, how can we compete with TSM? They've got more money than us, and Cloud9 has these 6 sponsorships. And the whole point is that's not what MVP is. So my point, anyway, in general, is these teams have something more than just the infrastructure that's making them succeed. That's like actually a cop out, I think, to make out like that's the only reason they win, and a team that doesn't have that doesn't win. Yep. So okay, back to the NALCS. Here's my question for you, Dexter. So, we've seen most of these players in the team play in other lineups in the past. Have they, as an actual overall team, what do you think of the style of play that they have?
Which team right now?
Which team?
Immortals.
Immortals?
Oh, yeah, you didn't specify the team.
I was like, what? It's hard to say what style. I mean, the style they run is just like, alright, we have 2 out of 3 winning lanes every single game, and then just try to win through laning. Because their team fighting right now, if you look at like the meta picks and everything, Huni's not playing like the most broken champions in the top lane, like Poppy or Trundle or whatever there is. He's just keep playing like Echo, for example, into tanks, and I'm not sure how that's gonna work out against like better teams, but right now they just win lane, and then Rainover enables, for example, Pobelter through like a gank or something, or Vision, because he's maybe better than the enemy jungle, and then Pobelter can roam and enable the other lanes. So I think it just all through like the laning phase. And if they get behind, they just still manage to just keep their calm, and they actually have like decent shot calling, I think, in late game to come back from goal deficits, which is like a sign of a really good team, right? If you can just play from behind and still manage to win games.
What do you actually think about the talent of the team? Because most of these players in this team, aside from Huni and then perhaps Rainover, because people in the ULCS did vote him the best jungler, aside from that, none of these players last split were considered like the best at their roles in their region. So who right now in Immortals is legitimately a candidate for like best at their position right now? Who do you think, Dexter? Who would you put forwards?
Best in... Pobelter's good, but I think Jensen and Bjergsen are a lot better.
Yeah, well, the thing about Pobelter is just straight up, if we look at him statistically, he is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's 8th in the league out of all players who have played in damage per minute. His gold percentage is also super low.
What the champion he plays is
Lux.
like a really big factor too, right? So,
sure.
I mean, of course, that players that run Azir or are gonna play a lot of Azir are gonna wreck the charts because Azir is broken. But yeah, it's like really important to consider.
I mean, the most played champions for Pobelter are Lux, Twisted Fate, Lulu, and Syndra.
Yeah, also, of course, he's not gonna deal a lot of damage.
Well, just to be clear, Faker is the highest DPM in the league, in Korea, despite Lulu being his most played champion.
Well, that's true.
Probably that sick combo coaching. Anyway, so what is there any other players who would get their vote? You only said Pobelter so far, and you didn't pick him.
I'm not saying Pobelter is bad. I actually think Pobelter is a good low economy mid laner, which works for their style because you want to feed Huni.
Sure.
Right? Just like when Reckless, who is a low economy AD carry, worked for Fnatic because they had 2 carries and they fed those 2 carries, and Reckless did his job with as little gold as he could, and so does Pobelter. But Pobelter, out of every single mid laner in the entire league, Pobelter does the least amount of damage by percentage for his team. He does 23.5% of his team's damage. Now, to put that in comparison, the next lowest player is Bjergsen with 27.3%. So I don't care what champions he's playing, Dexter. He is 4% lower than the player above him.
I agree, but he has to play with Huni on a team. You know, Huni is playing those carry champions, which kind of kick off the balance a bit. But
okay, Dexter, here's the way I would put it. Okay, I get what you're saying. Like maybe if we had someone else play with Hooney, and then, maybe it would be different stats, okay? But the problem here is what we're essentially arguing is maybe Pobelter could do more damage, but he hasn't, so it's actually irrelevant, really.
I mean, that's why I wouldn't pick him as like
sure.
a top 3 mid laner, because he's consistent, he knows how to lane, he's fine in lane, and he gets his advantage through like roaming, through like getting his team's side lanes ahead, which is fine.
Yep.
He doesn't have
For
to
me,
win the lane to win the game.
This whole debate about Pobelter is the same with some of the people you've mentioned already. So let's take Pobelter as a mid laner, we'll take Hauntzer as a top laner, we'll take Reckless as an AD carry. All people who are good at their roles, play a bit more of a supportive style, and so if you have other carries on the team, they'll be fantastic additions to the team, probably a winning team, but everyone gets super butthurt when you say they're not the best at their role. For some reason, you have to also say they're the best at their role. You have to basically just say, yeah, every carry's the best on their team. Instead, if you just say they're good, but they're like low econ style and they just play around the team, they're like, how bloody dare you? Like, I didn't know. Here's what's funny. It's you guys who are the fans who are actually insulting to those players because you don't understand the concept of a role player. You actually think that a role player, you think a role player is insignificant because when we call your favorite player a role player, you're like, how fucking dare you? He is the carry of the whole team. Like, get real, mate. Like, if you're on a team with Michael Jordan, you're probably not the star player. Be realistic, you know.
I mean, an example is Svensson right now. He used to be a star player long time ago, maybe.
Used to be a jungler as well.
Used to be. Well, I didn't want to be that harsh, but he used to be like a lot better, and then now on a team with like carries that take a lot of resources, he has to play the supportive style, and he's not very good at it. So yeah, he gets like painted as a lot worse jungler than he actually is, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. See, the irony, of course, is now Svenskeren could actually message Yellowstar and say, "Does my play offend you?" And Yellowstar would say yes, but I'm trash as well. So let's call it quits. So anyway, stacked up all the memes there, mate. So what about Monty? Is there anyone on the team? I want to see Hooney's a candidate for best top player in LCS. Okay, that one's fine, right?
I'm sure in the
probably
NLCS.
Is the best.
I mean, he does way more damage than anybody else. Seraph is. No. Seraph's not second. Actually, surprisingly, Gate is second. That's intriguing. But yeah, he does vastly more damage. I mean, he does a lot more % of his team's damage. That's where a lot of it goes. He's a good player. His DPM is over 600 as a top lane, which is ridiculous.
Love that DPM. So what about Wild Turtle, though? Here's the interesting question, Monty, because obviously nearly all the big highlight play, like wins of Immortals, revolve around Wild Turtle.
Well, Wild Turtle's been having a great season. He's at the top of the damage per minute charts, too, and he does a lot of his team's damage, and they play around his tendencies. The unfortunate aspect of his tendencies is that they're unpunished in the NALCS, but if he starts doing that crazy frontline shit against really good international teams, he's going to get crushed.
What do you think, Dexter? Wild Turtle.
I mean,
is he the best AD carry in an LCS?
No, I think Piglet has been playing really well.
Doublelift has actually been having a good season too.
Doublelift has been playing well statistically. I mean, it's hard to say because he's on a losing team, but yeah, statistically he has been playing fine. I think Freeze is the best example. He has been playing really well too, despite being on a losing team. And I think all those 3 players, even Sneaky is like the most consistent AD carry on the run.
But to be fair, for Freeze, at this point, he has actually reached Bane levels where he's like, oh, you merely adopted a losing team. I've been on 1 for 3 splits. Like, he's just, that's his life. He knows, he gets up in the morning, he's right, this guy lane's going to lose, this one's probably going to lose, what we're going to hard carry this shit on, let's go, flash and ignite. Like, let's go, boys. So.
There was this running joke, actually, where everyone called him a KDA player because he was always on the losing team and just tried to look as good as possible through just taking every farm and all kills and then just backing out of the team fight instantly. If anything goes wrong, he's just bailing out. So like, oh, fuck you guys, peace. I'm going to 0 deaths.
What's funny is people wouldn't realise this. One of the games that they lost to Roccat when it was KMT in that promotion with Nip to get into LCS, he actually did finish one of those games with a scoreline of like 7-0-7 or something. It's like, Freeze, how do you do that exactly in like a 60-minute loss, mate? How does one get 0 kills and a 6 scoreline? Like, are you sure are you actually a double agent, mate? Do you just want to look good while you're losing? What's this all about? So, okay, why isn't Wild Turtle the best NALCS AD carry then Dexter? Because, by the way, you just said there that for you, maybe Doublelift would be better, but you realise the consensus of people at the moment who post on social media is that, well, obviously Wild Turtle's better than Doublelift, and CLG must be so glad they got rid of Doublelift, the Stixay guy must be better as well, and blah, blah, blah. It's the obvious, like, I mean, fan rhetoric, okay, so why doesn't Wild Turtle, like, take the crown for you if he's on this best team?
First of all, I really don't give a fuck what everyone says.
Okay, big boy, he's coming out with the big guns, buddy.
I don't care what any
disclaimer.
Like, guy says because he's like the fan favorite. I don't give a shit. I just look at statistics and I actually look at how well someone can deal with like a gold lead and how responsible he is, how hard he can carry.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, Wild Turtle can do that, but look at his team. I mean, his team is just crushing and winning everything. And like Monty said, that if he does it against a better team, he would gets crushed in lane. Whereas a player like Sneaky, for example, is like a lot more consistent. Maybe he doesn't have like the high highs that Wild Turtle has, but he doesn't have the low lows too, right?
He also doesn't have a personal ambulance shuttling him around the map in the form of Soraka or Janna for an entire season. And am I saying that's a wrong way to play? No, I'm not saying that it's a wrong way to play, because it's been effective for Immortals, and it is good for Wild Turtle's playstyle. I think they're smart in the way that they utilize Wild Turtle. I just don't think that's going to work at an elite international level. I think it only works in the NALCS.
Okay, so this is an interesting topic that actually I want to get into as we discuss some of the other good teams, because I think this applies to both CLG and C9. So the problem here with what you just described about like the picks basically just spamming Janna and Soraka as support to help Wild Turtle and to facilitate his style of play is it's obviously working in NALCS. They've only lost one game, so it does work in NALCS. The problem is, if you use it and it works in NALCS and that's why you win NALCS, ideally you want to take that overall approach and go to Worlds with that or something along those lines. I mean, it's a long way away, but you know, MSI with that, whatever. Why won't that work at MSI, Monty? Like, why, for example, the obvious corollary, why don't Koreans just spam Soraka and Janna?
It's so bad.
Because, first off, you'll just lose lane. And if there are any kind of teleports to your lane, there are very few escape mechanisms in order to get out of that situation, and they will just focus you and crush you. And in team fights, if you're on the front line like that, the Koreans are, and a lot of these international teams are very good mechanically, and they will hit you with skill shots, and they will instantly focus you and kill you.
I think the best example.
You mean the support, yeah? As in they'll just kill the support and then you can't do all the healing?
No, they'll kill Wild Turtle.
Okay, so it won't matter that you have the healing capability.
If a team is good enough at crowd control and chaining one CC directly into another, he's never going to have even a chance to flash. Even if he has shields and heals and shit, they're going to burn him down.
I mean, look at the game that Fnatic played where Klai, the new support of Fnatic, played Soraka. That's like the best case scenario that can happen. You just get 4 men dove in bot lane and you can't do anything because you don't have a tank in the bot lane. Usually that's why you play Braum and Yellowstar, to either enable like diving or prevent diving a lot. And against a good team, you just get TP'd on and you get crushed.
Yeah, or Trundle. I mean, these are all these, like, Soraka doesn't bring any kind of immediate crowd control, and she's quite squishy. And as soon as she uses her heal, she doesn't do anything anymore.
Soraka's great when you're ahead and you have a front line. You just heal the front line and, you say, hey, Soraka's OP, but you have to look at what happened before, like in the first 10 minutes of the game, if you actually try to even shut her down. And I don't see that any NALCS team is even trying to, like, play with for the fact that they have a Soraka on the team and dive the fucking bot lane and kill them over and over again.
Okay.
Should happen, normally, but yeah, it doesn't.
Is every NLCS team so focused on Huni and what Huni's going to do and what's going on there? What do you think the problem is? What's the disconnect between the obvious win condition and what everyone else is doing?
I mean, yeah, if your top laner has to TP top lane to not lose his tower against Huni, then obviously you can't match the power in the bot lane. Because it's all about TP advantage and how you use it. And Huni showed that on Fnatic he's really good at using TP, which, I mean, he keeps track of his TP very well and knows how to get an advantage. And Drainover plays around that fact too. So it's really hard if you don't like match the power in the top lane, which is why I think CLG is actually, and maybe C9, even when with balls, it's like one of the teams that can actually beat IMT because they know how to like take advantage of that, or at least control Huni to an extent where they can win through other lanes.
Monty, I know we've discussed this in the past, and in theory, teleport does provide lots of strategic options, especially for like when you, in the past when you used to have to take all the dragon fights, etc. It was very important. Do you not still feel like teleport's like too powerful a spell?
No, because it's really good and it enables lane swaps, which I very much appreciate. And the lane swap aspect of the game is very important that it stays alive because it allows teams to get out of losing matchups or at least have a 50-50 shot of not being in absolute shit matchups, which allows them to play champions that they probably couldn't play otherwise. If everybody just had to pick for lanes like every game, and if there wasn't a teleport to enable people to be able to catch minion waves and teleport flank and make those decisions, split pushing would not be really an option. You could never split push. Like, strategy would be extremely limited. It would suck.
What do you think, Dexter?
Reddit tells me lane swaps are boring. So
No. Reddit tells you that, quote, lane swaps could be played by bots. I was like, no, actually, that is the part of the game that absolutely cannot be played by bots. That is the one part.
Yeah, true. I forgot.
You can't just install a script on your computer and play Cassiopeia. You know, you can play Cassiopeia perfectly with a script and do the kiting and the mechanical aspect. You can't like have game knowledge to do lane swaps as a bot. That doesn't work.
Yep. Well,
maybe that's the secret. You've just cracked it, Monty. What needs to happen is TSM. Listen, you tried it already. You bought all the best players. You bought a real coach. You got a team house. You brought over Loco. You brought over Lost, but you did everything you could. Listen, you guys, I'll give you a pass. You tried everything you could. What you need to do now is just keep everyone at the same salary they're at right now. Invest all future earnings into making a deep mind type program to figure out lane swaps for you. If you can get that program before the game to tell you how to do the lane swap and exactly what's going to happen and predict what the lane swap will be, that is how you will succeed as a team. That's the approach. Invest all future money, Reggie, into cybernetic artificial intelligence. It's your only chance. You are our only hope, Reggie.
To be fair, lane swaps, everyone makes it out. It's so easy, and I mean, yeah, on paper it's really easy, but if you actually play the lane swap out, it's so hard to actually know what to do in what moment. It is.
There's so many different ways it can play out too, and different team compositions and what you should be doing and what your team comp's goals are. It's quite complicated, really.
It is really hard, as a player, if you play lane swap. And I mean, the jungler right now, it's really easy to play it as a jungler because all you do is just play PvE for the first 8 minutes.
Maybe,
you just farm.
Maybe you possibly think sometimes about ganking mid. Maybe.
Sometimes, yeah. But yeah, maybe. I think the hardest job is for top lane, and it's like a team decision, right? If you're behind on the swap, what are you gonna do? I think G2, for example, had really good ways of showing something that's really new. They just camped the brush and wait for the ball.
They did that. They did that against Vitality.
Yeah, which was really good because it kind of stopped their whole tempo that Vitality gained and kind of reversed it because then they were on the lead, which is interesting to see. And it's stuff like this which kind of is really hard to make up on the fly. What are we gonna do? It's we're just gonna wait here. All right. Lane swaps are really, really hard and complicated for sure. If you look on it on paper, it's super easy, but yeah, the practical aspect is a lot harder.
So the team that finished second in the regular season and thus skipped through to the semi-finals is CLG, Counter Logic Games. So first and foremost, Monty, unfortunately, that means we've lost part of a Lord bet against Loco. We've done it again. We fucked up.
How can we lose part of a Lord bet? How does this always happen?
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, so just as again, Loco Doco, we have to ignore all the parts where he's wrong, only tell him the part where he's right. I feel like I'm a forgiven teammate here right now. So we have to pretend and congratulate him for doing that one thing right and not all the things he did wrong and pretend that didn't happen. So what happened was I watched the episode again on the exact moment. What happens is initially we were going to make a Lord bet, me and you, that CLG would be a first round exit, playoffs, 5th to 6th sort of placing. And Loco said, well, here's the key point. Loco said, no, let's make it a two-parter. And part one was he said they would finish 4th or 5th. They didn't do that. They definitely did not. He was definitely wrong on that. But he did say as part 2 that they would make the semi-finals, which technically they already have. So here's the key thing. Since at the end of the bet, we had to call him Lord for a month, we will call him Lord for half a month. That sounds fair, right? It's not really fair. He didn't get both parts right. But as usual, Monty, we will pretend that this is all fine to make a million predictions and get one right, and we will honour our Lord bet, Lord Loco, for half a month. Don't worry, there'll only be about 2 episodes in that time span, mate. We'll get past it pretty quick this time. So there we go. We have to do it.
All right. God bless you, Lord Loco.
Something else in it. So here's the question, Dexter. How the fuck did CLG, who lost, in theory, some of their better players and were in a situation where they actually came into the season. This is the reason we picked them to be 5th or 6th. They had a very underwhelming roster. They hadn't done so well at the IEM in terms of getting ultra stomped, obviously. What do you actually think of CLG, this one team that's finished 2nd in the league now?
I mean, you've made that statement that someone lost the off-season before, right? So
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. They have really good strategic play. They just, internationally, they might get smashed because they suddenly play like the most random shit. I don't know why, but yeah. In North America, it works out very well for them. And Darshan is really, really good at split pushing, knowing his limits. And Xmithy, to an extent, is playing really well on that 1 or 2 champions. Udyr, for example, where he just runs around in like circles and distracts the enemies for so long that they suddenly forget how to play the map. And yeah, Afram was like playing really well this season too. I'm not sure how to like rate Stixay because statistically he isn't doing that hot, but yeah, I mean,
Just seems serviceable to me.
He's serviceable. He's on a winning team. You know, if your team wins 13 games, then
yeah. I mean, I think he's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that he's terrible or anything like that. I just think that fans, as usual, tend to overrate Stixay's contributions to the team because both he and Huhi make a number of mechanical errors. Huhi has spent most of this season playing 2 champions, which are LeBlanc and Corki. So
but that's good for CLG. I mean, they just
I
what
agree.
works for them. That's how they win games.
I totally agree. I have no like issues with that. He's played obviously a few other champions too, like TF and LeBlanc a couple times each, but it's been 10 of the games that are on LeBlanc and Corki. And those are great champions to play in this meta. Absolutely no problem with that. But yeah, there's not a lot of strategic diversity that they have. Basically, what they do is Afro carries the crap out of Stixay in the laning phase. And I would love to see Stixay with a support not named Aframu and see how that went. And Darshan just plays around his champion pool and everyone else is a little bit of a role player, or they figured out a strategy that works for them, which is like Zerat Portal Udyr, which they play well with.
When I watch CLG, what they really do well is they know how to like play the map exactly. Like, for example, if someone gets an advantage in the bot lane, the top lane knows that he doesn't have to do anything and just sit back. And then once they just distribute like the lanes properly, they know how to move around the map to just pressure the map, which is like.
Or they play with TPs around the lane that's winning, where they will repeatedly gank that lane over and over and over again. That's how they beat Immortals. They got Darshan ahead on Fiora early, and then they just like came down into his lane. Like he just camped the Quinn. Xmithy just camped the Quinn, and then they tried to make TP plays with the Fiora. Now, some of those TP plays were not very good ideas, and they almost let Immortals back into the game. But their basic philosophy on how to play League of Legends is actually incredibly simple.
Yeah, I think CLG is just strategically they're really good, but I think just with the players they have a ceiling that they will eventually reach, and when they reach that, they won't really win any games anymore. But I think for North America, I mean, not to like bash on North America the whole time, but internationally they probably won't have a chance because they just get outclassed, I guess, in most of the roles.
I mean, we just saw IEM, mate. That worked out.
I can just say it, yeah. CLG's gonna get fucking wrecked internationally, probably against like the best teams. But
listen,
but
on
Dexter,
the upside, Dexter, you're in the memes no matter what now.
CLG was the first NA team to ever beat a Korean team in a best of 3.
All it took was the Korean team's best player now not to be in the team, their best player before to not be in the team, and their jungler not to be in the team. And only took 3 players being removed.
They're 2 best players. They're 2 best players.
Well, I mean, I mean now their best player is Trace, and he wasn't in the team either. So, turns out you can beat Koreans if they don't bring any of the best players. So, who knew? Who knew? That's all we need to do after all these years. So, Dexter, you realise now, no matter what, for good or for ill, you're part of a meme. Because if CLG gets wrecked, you'll be on one of those hilarious montage pictures where you're saying, like, CLG will get wrecked, and they're like a picture of you laughing, like, haha. Or you will be featured in, like, one of those TSM, like, Fnatic will burn style things where you were wrong and CLG does super well, makes it to semi-worlds, and then you'll be... So either way,
CLG already
you'll
got
be
wrecked.
remembered.
They already got wrecked. How can I be wrong on this one? Maybe they get better suddenly, you know? Who knows?
So, okay, here's the thing. What Monty said about Stixay, essentially, what we're trying to clarify here is, I know as a fan, especially a CLG fan, you really want to believe, well, wait a minute, CLG's winning, TSM's losing, therefore, Stixay is better than Doublelift. Scrub, please. No. That's not how it works. That's not the way it works. In fact, did you notice how Dexter didn't say, yeah, they're super sick because like their AD carry's carrying all the games, like super hard carry. He didn't say any of that. What he said was they're really good at playing the map. In fact, here we go. Are you ready for me to... it's okay, CLG fans. I'm not just going to offend you. I'm now going to offend all of Monty's aesthetic sensibilities by saying that CLG this split are the NA version of Coup Tigers late 2015. You ready, Monty? You ready to get all your sense offended? So, best player, support player, Gorilla, Afromu. Next best player, one of the best players in his region, top laner, Darshan, comparable to Smeb in some ways. And then we got weak jungler, Smithy, just does what he needs to do. Mid laner, not great, but like a little bit better than you'd expect most of the time. Eddie carry, serviceable, just does what he needs to in team fights. They are the Coup Tigers of the NALCS. There we go. Monty loves statements like that.
I think Prey was better compared to his region than Stixay was, but okay. I suppose that's somewhat true.
But in general, the way they win, like I say, the thing about Coup Tigers was they never used to just dump lane. They never used to just wreck by having the individual players. They used to win by having really good mid game and on.
Yep, true.
So, since as we just referenced with Dexter, they have played international competition. We just saw it like 2 weeks ago or something. What do you actually think? Like, if this lineup doesn't change, say they keep the same 5 players, Monty, and I'm assuming they will because they've had success. Where would there have to be improvement for CLG to have a chance internationally? What do you think the big problem is?
Well, I agree that Darshan probably isn't ever going to do well internationally. He's been around for so long right now, and he pretty much gets wrecked anytime he plays, even against European top laners. So that's probably not really going to be an option for the long term. But the problem is, where do you find an upgrade for Darshan? He's like, as far as NA top laners go, if you don't want to use an import slot on a top laner, like he's the best one.
Why would he ever place Darshan on that roster? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah. So
because you want to win worlds or something crazy, you know?
I would say that why not import an AD carry? You know what I mean? Like they actually do have a foreign slot left. Their only foreigner is Huhi. So why don't they just import an AD carry to bolster the roster? It'd be a plug and play style move, in my opinion.
Also, one of your best players is Afromoon. We saw when he played with Doublelift, he could rock the bot lane.
Yeah.
So he's not one of the. That's the thing. He's not the AD. He's not a Yellowstar who just like wants a supportive AD carry, so he can then roam all the time on the map and make plays. He's going to do both. He's going to play the map and play the lane. So I think, in some ways, he's sort of not using what's an obvious advantage. You're not facilitating one of your strengths by having a really strong AD carry.
Agreed.
Yep.
Dexter, what were you going to say?
I mean, I just want to say that there might be like a good AD carry left without a team soon if Renegades might get relegated.
Oh, it was a dig on Renegades. I approve of that. Well done there, Monty.
Well done there. Getting Dexter. Relegated. I hope not, at least, but okay. Time will tell.
So, the third best team in NALCS is Cloud9. Now, here's a question I have before we go into all the topic Cloud9. So, at the moment, Cloud9 obviously again have good shot calling, etc. Who do you think actually has the best shot calling in NALCS, Monty?
C9 or I don't know. C9, CLG, and Immortals are all pretty, I would say, even. I'd say C9 or Immortals. They do have more diversity.
I want to say
in their shot calls,
but I've seen that game yesterday when they played their lane swap, and that was like one of the worst lane swaps I've ever seen from like a top team. I'm not joking. This was like so bad. It actually hurts to see. But maybe it was just like a fluke, like one game error, but I think IMT probably has like a lot better shot calling overall.
I mean, what's funny is, on the CLG topic, I should have probably added this as well. They actually remind me of all the problems that old Cloud9 used to have. The one that was the lineup that before they got Jensen, Incarnation, when they had the old classic lineup, which was they were always going to do well in NA, and their advantage in shot calling was so good that they would beat a lot of NA teams. But then once they got to the international level, first of all, that advantage would be nullified by other teams being as good, or other teams just being much better in terms of individual players. And so the same scenario that happened for like 2 years with Cloud9, where all the fans would get mad that you'd say, oh, they should upgrade this position and this position. Well, that's basically what CLG probably has to do. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they've plateaued. Like, where's the to go at this point in time? And they already seem to have good coaching.
C9
et cetera.
has been incrementally upgrading their positions. They found something for High to do so he could still contribute to the shot calling. Sneaky's always been good. Rush, they got, obviously, that's a pretty great improvement for them. And Jensen has been super good. So I guess I would say at this point, replace Balls if you can. But you
remember, Monte?
You already have 2 foreign slots, so that becomes difficult.
When Incarnation was doing badly, there were people who were like, they should have kept High. Let's be real. Think about what's happening right now. If they'd have kept High as a mid laner, I'm not joking, they would be in like 6th or 7th place. Like, that lineup would not be doing well.
Yeah.
And as a result, like, Jensen is literally the hard carry of their fucking team. They needed that guy. That was actually a great move by Jack, in as much as it didn't work out initially, but eventually it did come around to play off. And so it was worth the investment. And he stuck with it as well. He didn't just cut him.
Jensen has the highest damage per minute of any player on any mid player in the NALCS. And what's more, he doesn't even have the highest damage percentage of his team. Froggen and GBM have that. So, like, he's doing a fantastic job in terms of outputting damage, while simultaneously the rest of his team is helping him do that. So, I think he's pretty good.
Jensen's really fucking good, yeah.
So what about Cloud9 then, Dexter?
I mean, I think just the biggest problem is just if you pluck High out of the team is just, I don't know. It's like a completely different team. And eventually they will have to do that because High wanted to retire like a million times already. And I guess he doesn't want to play, but he has to. And once the day comes where he's not going to play anymore, then we really have to see how good Cloud9 is.
Okay, but he's still playing for now. So what do you make of him with High?
I think they're really good right now. I think they're probably like top 2 team, and I think they can even win the split if they just
fix their... You think they can beat Immortals in a best of 5?
Yeah.
How come?
I mean, just their macro play and Jensen and Rush are really, really good together. And I think that once Rush is being able to, like... I mean, he has been playing like a lot of supportive stuff and improved a lot, and I think he's like really, really good right now and has like the same... can probably match Reignover. And it all comes down to Ball's form, maybe, how they can beat them. Because if Balls performs, then I think C9 is going to win. If Balls underperforms and is at the top tower for whatever reason at level 3 and gets dove and then lose the game alone, then they're going to lose the game. But it's all... Yeah, I think Balls is like the one key...
The X factor.
The X factor, yeah. That is going to decide whenever they can beat Immortals or not.
Because to me, it's not as obvious that you can just say, well, Immortals won the regular season, they're going to wreck the player. Like, I've noticed, this is why I actually think League of Legends analysis is the hardest for any game I've ever seen. Because, okay, we made the joke before about referencing when I said Roccat won the off-season. Put it this way, as far as I can tell, it's actually almost impossible to look at the off-season roster moves and really know how a team will play. Because, for example, let's use the same sort of logic, okay? If you asked me and a lot of people, you would say, on paper, TSM won the off-season massively. That looked like an incredible series of trades where they got all these fantastic players, and they've obviously massively failed to deliver on that. Meanwhile, obviously the old famous Fnatic one didn't look like they'd done very well in the off-season. They had the best European team ever. Like, it's actually incredibly hard. But likewise, I want to apply that here. Likewise, it's also very hard to tell based on how someone's regular season finished, how they'll do in the playoffs. Like, we've mentioned this on the show in the past. I actually usually think the best approach is ignore the record, because really what the record tells you is, how well the team did, but over a 3-month span. Like, it's telling you how well the teams did. Some of those wins might be from the beginning of the split, like TSM's obviously. So it's probably better to just look at the run of form recently, and even then you don't want to take games against Tip into account when you're talking about playoffs. So you probably only want to look at games they played recently against top 5-6 level teams, which means you've actually got, going into the playoffs, probably about 4 or 5 games each to look at for each top team and know how good they are.
And it's a best of 1 system until next season, so you don't even know if a game looks like a disaster, like Cloud9's game versus Liquid, you can't really evaluate them properly because that probably is not, just from watching Cloud9 in general, that's probably not an issue that's going to happen again, and I don't think would have happened 2 times in a best of 3. So it becomes even more challenging because of the format.
And the whole best of 1 thing. The big problem with best of 1 to me is also that you only play 2 games a week and you play 1 against each opponent. So as a result, as Keen taught us last split, if you find some weird pick for that 1 week that no one's figured out yet, it's like fashion, okay? Fashion changes quickly.
You can win like every red side game. Because you always have a counter pick.
Here's the thing: fashion changes quickly. So it's like if you're the first person to discover wearing short shorts, and you show up in them, you're going to look cool, you're going to look sexy, you've got the look for the summer. But if you show up wearing short shorts 2 months later, then everyone's going to be like, what the fuck? It's winter now, you idiot. Well, couldn't be winter at that point in time, it's 2 months later. But it's going to be autumn/fall, and then your fashion sense will fall. And you'll ruin the day. You'll ruin the day that you wear the short shorts. So, okay, Dexter.
Yeah.
Do you care about any of the other teams in NALCS? We just did the top 3 there. I guess the other team we'll talk about is, let's just do TSM, right? What do you think of TSM? Because TSM should, on paper, and for a lot of the season, look like they were going to be a top 3 team. What happened to them?
I don't know. When they have no synergy and they're not a team. I think they're just individual players. They win their games through individual outplays or being better than the opponent in like laning phase. But if I just look at their games, they don't know what to do. Like
or they win by like grouping up as a giant ball of 5 players, and then waiting for you to do Baron, and then fighting you at Baron, and then winning the game.
When I watch them, I don't think they have like any game plan. I got asked the same question, and I said, when I used to scrim TSM, what they did, they paused the game at 10 or 15 minutes for like 5 minutes.
Oh, I remember when they fucking did that shit.
They did that, and it was super annoying, but it actually helped them improve a lot. They said, okay, after lane swap, the first 2 towers are done. We pause the game, strategical break, and then they just discuss what they have to do next in the game, right? And I think if they could do this in LCS, they would be a lot better. But after the 10 minutes or 15-minute mark, they don't know what to do in the game. And
I'm actually confused right now. Let me just check. I understand this, okay, guys? So in a scrim, you allowed them to pause and discuss what was happening, and even worse, they thought that was a good way to practice, even though the obvious follow-on would be, if you were stuck and you didn't know what to do at 15 minutes in a game, you'd go, can we put, oh shit, it's a real game. Just continue, I guess, we're fucked. Like, why did you let them do that? Why didn't you just go, sorry, we don't allow pauses, unpause, keep playing?
I mean, I think it's okay if you do it for like 2 or 3 minutes and just discuss what you want to do, but it actually helped them. When we played them, they just paused the game and said, okay, we have to do this and this. And then you could clearly see that, okay, once they unpaused, suddenly the players moved around the map and knew where to go. And then all of the magic, it was like magic, you know? But if they could do this in LCS, they would be fine. But
right, you've done me now, Dexter, because you know what you've just made me realise?
What?
So when Amazing was telling us that, in scrims we do this, that and the other, and in scrims, if the scrims had gone like that, you were pausing the game for 15 minutes! Your coach was telling you, are you out of your fucking mind? What did you, for all I know, you paused the game, went and pulled up a fucking SK Telecom VOD, started skipping through like, and then he would go to here, okay, yep, come back in, like, in fact, 15 minutes, that's more than you get to call a friend in fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You could literally be calling up Dandy and he could be like, Dandy says to not get triple buffed. Oh, okay, mate, yep, cheers. What even is this? 15 minutes? What? How can that be real?
I mean, yeah.
I'll give you props, Dexter. You and CLG are geniuses, though, because you actually set TSM up for a massive failure by being, yeah, it's fine. Just pause the game. Yeah, go ahead, do that. This won't come back to bite you at all later on, guys. Just keep pausing the game. Keep it. In fact, I think you should have started fucking with him, Dexter. Like, when they were losing the game, you should have just been typing in, want to pause? Maybe pause the game?
Yeah.
You guys want a timeout? A little timeout there, boys? BM them. Why not?
Oh, man. Well, it's better than some other teams that just take, like, 40-minute breaks in between games to analyze everything.
Okay.
Which happens in some scrims. So I'd rather take the 5 minutes in the game and then actually play the game after than just wait 40 minutes to play another game.
Well, as I discussed with Monty on the last episode of By the Numbers, which was kind of like a hybrid SI/By the Numbers because we didn't have an episode that week, essentially from watching TSM Legends and talking to Monty, I've realised that half of the problem I think NA teams and TSM particularly have is they have that terrible logic where they think that once you make a mistake and you get punished for the mistake in game and you lose the game, they, in their mind, obviously then you can identify it's a mistake. And so they make the key error of thinking, since I now know it was a mistake, I wouldn't make that mistake again in the future. It's like, that doesn't work. Come on, mate, that doesn't work, does it? Because the question is why you thought it was a good idea in the first place. You know, that's probably the pattern you have to jam in that sense. Signal jam.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Like I don't watch TSM Legends at all, but I obviously
should. It's brilliant, mate. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. I should. It's better comedy than.
Mate, I told everyone.
yes.
I've said this many times on air. Basically, TSM Legends is a not very interesting like soap opera, but there's this fantastic character that does cameos called Reggie, and like. All I do when I watch it, I've already said this, I already wait, and because it's like, because you know the results before the episode comes out, it's like, as soon as they lose, I'm like, I can't wait for this episode, and I get my popcorn, and I get a bottle of cider, and I sit back, and I enjoy it, and all I'm waiting for every time, Dexter, is I'm just waiting, and I'm praying that there'll be a strategy discussion, and in walks my favourite character, and it's like one of those American soap operas, you know, he opens the door, and the whole crowd's like, yeah, and it's like, hey, here comes Reggie, and then he comes in, and all he does, Dexter, literally, is use Season 2 macro logic to break down the game, and then he even sometimes goes lane by lane and starts telling people what they should have done. And he'll do stuff like, he'll tell the jungler, like, yeah, you see, you should have actually done this at this point. It's like, you think he doesn't...
the best thing. I hate
Dexter, the best one, this is the genius one. There was one where, like, he actually was telling Haunter, like, hey, he should have actually parried the gold card at this point in the fight, and then he would have won the game. Like, as though he doesn't know that! Like, he knows that! You're just saying it after the fact, you idiot! Like, you think he intentionally let the gold card through? No, I won't use parry on this gold card. Just let it hit me. Why not? Like, it's so good, Dexter. It's like watching like everything fall apart.
The
yes,
Cavit episode?
That's what I'm talking about. It was wonderful. It was fucking phenomenal, mate. I loved it. I love it. And he literally, when you watch those episodes, you know every problem with TSM, because you know all the problems where Bjergsen still thinks he's the shot caller and thinks he has to be the shot caller. That's like Reggie using Season 2 logic of like, well, you're the one who has the closest position to everyone on the map. And also, it's like, where are the other mid lane shot callers, mate? They aren't any in the fucking game. You've got the only one because you're using some Reginald in TSM Season 2 logic at Season 6.
I just hate people who do that say, hey, you should have done this. The thought process begins like 1 or 2 minutes before that, before you leading up to the mistake. And I don't think that even most people understand this. But for example, Prolly, when I talk to him, and you can watch his interviews, like to all analysts or coaches out there that watch this episode right now, just watch the interview with Prolly. He explains what he does, and he just reverse engineers everything to a point where, okay, why did you guys do that Baron, or what does the enemy team to actually do the Baron? And then he goes like 2 or 3 minutes back, which lead up to the point, which is like a lot better to analyze and to figure out the thought process of enemy teams. Which then
I also think people really underrate Prolly as a coach. I think he's really good.
Prolly is so like, even like Prolly and Chance are like so good at in-game stuff. If you talk to them, they're like really smart at what to do in the game. And the best example was like, okay, from I think he told me that it's like, Odo Amne asked him, hey, I'm playing Champion X against Y. What do I have to do in the lane? He asked his coach how to play the lane. Like, does he have to pull the lane or push the lane? And I guess that comes with respect and everything. But yeah, Prolly is really good. And coaches probably don't understand like how to...
I hope Prolly just said to him, like, give me a paycheck. And he goes, why would I do that? Well, I'm going to play the fucking game for you as well. Like, if there's one thing you have to learn, mate, it's what the champions do in the fucking game.
It was a solo queue game or something. This was like not super serious, but yeah. Anyway, the point is that teaching stuff is like, yeah, you should have done this, or like mechanical errors are like fucking dumb.
I mean, I would love to go back in time. This is my dream, Monty. I go back in time and I become the coach of TSM when Reggie still plays in Season 3, and all I'll do the whole time is just fuck with him and breakdowns like, hey, Reggie, see, when you threw the blue card there, actually the gold one's the one we want. Okay, so lock in the gold one, then throw the gold. All I need you to do, Reggie, just lock in the gold one, then throw the gold. You keep throwing the blue one. You see the problem here? Look, here's a breakdown. Here's what the blue card does. Here's what the gold card does. Now, a gold card was stunned him in this scenario. This is where we could have got a kill. You understand that, Reginald? You threw the game there. Now, this Dyrus card here was dying. That's irrelevant, mate. The gold card. You see the gold and the red cards. Like, and the whole time I'd have flash cards. Reggie, what one's this one? That's red. Yep, that's red. You got it, champ. In the game you go. Go on. And then after the game I'd be going, Reggie, that's not the gold card, is it? It's okay, you'll get it, champ. You'll get it eventually. You'll get it, mate. So, okay. We're talking about TSM there. So explain this to me, Dexter. When you look at their roster, have players actually underperformed?
Yeah.
Who's
I
underperformed?
think Yellowstar is the biggest problem in terms of mechanical skill. As much as I like Bora as a shot caller player on Fnatic, he's not that same player anymore that he was on Fnatic. He's just his skill shots.
He wasn't good mechanically last year either.
He didn't miss that many skill shots.
All right, he wasn't this bad, but it's not like he was a mechanical support god last year. That was always a criticism of Yellowstar in the past year.
It depends. He could make highlight mechanical plays. It's more, to me, it's more like people confuse being mechanical with being good in lane, whereas there's two different things. I mean, here's an example that came on, a great example from the past. So mechanically, Captain Jack is obviously sick. That's why he has all those cleanse highlights. But he was terrible at laning for the most of his career when he was in Blaze. That's why he couldn't handle it. So he obviously had but some of laning's decision making, knowing the flow chart, what to do next.
Is neither great at laning nor is he great mechanically.
No, he always. What his strength was, he always knew how to play the map properly as a support. Yep. And if you look at Gorilla, he does it too, but he also can lane, which is why he's like one of the best players in the world.
Well, he's not one of the top 20, but...
sorry. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think he's pretty good. Maybe. I overrate him, of course. Lol Esports tells me all the time.
Maybe this year he will make the top 20, maybe.
Maybe.
We're lucky.
So, Monty, what is the final diagnosis on TSM? What went wrong? All these good players, what went wrong?
I think it's impossible to say without knowing more. I mean, I read
he's in China, so that's irrelevant, really.
I read Casey.
What's he got to do with it?
Shut up. I read Casey Woodbuck's opinion when he was released about how he lost the respect of the players and he felt like he came in late and never really had the opportunity to earn that respect in the first place. Okay. And then Weldon came in. Obviously they lost another coach here and a coach was removed partway through the season. I don't know anything about that or the infrastructure that they were trying to implement.
Saving a coach that can coach TSM.
Have you heard I saw an interview with Xpecial where it was a vlog that Xpecial did where he said that around the house he'd seen a book that was how to win friends and influence people. He said that Reggie had been reading it or something. So maybe Reginald's got a really big library, because I heard, Monty, that when they fired Woodbuck and he was on the way out the door, he actually went through and he had a bit of a breakdown and he actually trashed this whole library, thus answering the immortal question: how many books would a Woodbuck chuck if a Woodbuck did get chucked? Listen, mate, you don't get many chances to come along with a line like that, mate. So you got to go with them when you get them. Okay,
that was really good.
Okay. So anyway, what do you think, Monty? What? Here's the question. I've got a real question for you. Okay, so not only what coach could TSM get? 'Cause at the moment it seems like none of the coaches they get are effective. They can't get people who have the authority, and even more so, it's a two-part one. What shot caller could they possibly get? Because if Bjergsen isn't going to listen to Yellowstar, or isn't going to allow him to do, because if you remember that leaked comms from IEM made it seem like Bjergsen talks 50% of the time and Yellowstar maybe 25%. If they haven't got a coach who can coach them, I don't know who could. And if they haven't got, if you're not going to let Yellowstar shot call, who the fuck can be the shot caller? These are my questions.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you solve that problem. I think that, honestly, that the best thing for Bjergsen and TSM is for TSM to do what CLG did with Doublelift, and is to remove Bjergsen from the team, because he's been on the TSM for pretty much his entire career right now, and it's not like he's not a good player. I just think that he is so entrenched as the only aspect of TSM that has not changed at this point, that he has too much control over the team, or perhaps his say is too great in what occurs with that team, and perhaps it would be better for them to start thinking about just mixing things up. Not because he's a bad player, but if you need to change the fundamental fabric of a team and how it operates, sometimes you just gotta do that.
I've seen you gone full Reddit. You blame Bjergsen for TSM's downfall.
No. I don't blame him. I think he's an excellent player, but I just think that it may be in the best interests of both Bjergsen and the team to split with TSM, and for them to really, really get in there and change how that team dynamic works. Because I think as long as Bjergsen's there with the power that he has on that roster, and the fact that he's the longest running player, and he does call the shots because of his fame and because of how much he brings to the brand, that you can't actually build a team in a way that can be as competitive as it could be. And I think the problem that TSM's going to run into too now is that TSM always got by on being one of the top teams in the LCS, and maybe by the end of the season they will be again. Maybe they will do well in the playoffs. I doubt that very much, but perhaps they will, and they will rectify all their problems at the last minute, which they've done before. But usually it was through roster changes, like bringing in Lustboy. But with the fact that they have now fired the last two of their coaches, and you know that Reggie's going to come into the team and like take over because he's now done it twice. Not to say that that has been a bad thing. It has been effective for them in the past, it would seem. But as a coach, if you're not going to have a winning team or a prestigious brand like TSM, if TSM is all of a sudden a lesser brand compared to Immortals, or if they're comparable to like Energy, which is a new team, what's the motivation behind going there as a coach? It's hard, right?
I mean, Dexter, you kind of said it jokingly, but I kind of do. I agree. I do blame Bjergsen. As a mid laner, Bjergsen's brilliant. He's still a fantastic player. But if he is the main shot caller, I look at TSM. Their shot calling is fucking terrible. They actually should have won less. If we look, here's the thing: if they had a CLG type roster with less skilled players, they would be like 9th place right now. They would be 8th place. They'd be even worse because they could have lost even more games that they won with like miracle team fights, with like the other team doing mad Baron throws. Like they could have been even worse if we're talking pure shot calling. And if it comes from him, then he has to take some of the blame on that level. Obviously not as an individual
player. Here's
player.
the thing too, right? If Bjergsen is a shot caller in the mid lane, why does TSM fuck up lane swaps against a TIP that has 3 new players? The mid laner has 0 effect on the lane swap for like the first 15 minutes. Why is TSM sucking so hard at lane swap then?
It's a great question.
Do you have a theory?
I don't know. That's just me, It's like
speculate. Just speculate.
I actually don't know.
I mean, odds are Bjergsen is not doing the shot calling at that point in the game, but that
you can't.
It highlights the point. Like, but what is Yellowstar doing at that point? Because he should actually be useful in that situation, but he's not.
From me, like what I spectated, I mean, I'm just making assumptions that if you look at how Yellowstar plays, the tempo is like the synergy is a bit off, like always 2 or 3 seconds, which is really important. And if you would have put in Huni in that team, when Yellowstar engages the fight, you would have already seen the TP come in. But what happens most of the time is the TP is like 2 or 3 seconds too late. And in lane swap, it's really important to do that. So maybe it's like not good communication, or maybe Hornser is not in a good enough position always 2 or 3 seconds late. I don't know. But all I know is that you can't blame the mid laner for fucking up the lane swap, because the mid laner has absolutely no say or any impact in the lane swap whatsoever.
Okay, I've got as one of the general TSM problems, I have a theory for you that I've never heard anyone put forward, okay? So one of the big surprises of this TSM team is how underwhelming Svenskeren is. Like, he's not even vaguely been a good jungler. Even for this team, where in theory he doesn't, like, the whole thing is he doesn't have to carry like he did in some of the past teams. One of the things that people haven't noticed is a pattern, is like when you look at Svenskeren's career, the time when he was very good was when he was in the SK lineups. Like, there was season 4, they were a pretty good team, he was one of the best players in the team by far. Then you had the Forgiven lineup where him and Forgiven were like the real stars of the team, and they were both very, very good. Now, if you remember, famously, Svenskeren wasn't someone who warded a lot. He wasn't someone who had like some like godlike synergy with one lane. What's funny is, in those teams, he had N-rated in the lineup. And one of the things people always used to get mad at me for is implying N-rated was a shot call or something. N-rated is one of the smartest players in the history of League of Legends. Every lineup he has been a part of was like way better than they should have been, like tactically, or always at the cutting edge of like some aspect of how to play the game and the meta game. When I hear other players who I've talked to, teammates of Svenskeren, talk about Svenskeren, they say, right, yeah, mechanically he's really sick, like he has like a really like strong mentality, like he wants to like duel the enemy jungler and like invade them and that. But they say he's not a very cerebral player, as in he's not like a really smart player who's good at decision making, knowing what to do at certain times. So I have to say, when I look at the overall time he had success and now in TSM, I have to figure it's not that he was being microed, but he had help in as much as people were like telling him, giving him good info on where to go or where he could go or what to do next or when to come and group with them. And I don't see any of that in TSM.
It was also easier as a Season 4 jungler to actually do stuff on your own, but the game involved so much that you need to talk to your support to actually do stuff right now on the map. And I don't know, Svenskeren was never the type of jungler for me that would be like, hey, I'm going to call my support here because I can't invade without him. He would just go in anyway, and he doesn't care because he thinks he's stronger.
Also on that SK lineup, it's worth noting that they played the Forgiven style of team comps, which are high-pressure bottom lanes, which allows you to invade much more freely and try and style on the enemy jungler mechanically, which is what the Rocks Tigers do right now, is they just push all their lanes and the Peanut just walks in there and kills you, right? So it's a different style of game that they're playing. Svenskeren flourished under the strong laning phases and picking for lane under the forgiven SK. Whereas if we think about Yellowstar's style on Fnatic, it wasn't with Reckless last year, push up the bottom lane, play really strong lanes. It was Yellowstar leaves Reckless alone and goes and tries to make plays with the jungler, right? We just haven't seen that from TSM. And Doublelift's not that kind of player. He's not the same kind of player as Reckless.
Doublelift is not a player that plays Corki and just farms with his missiles, you know? That's not what he does. He needs to have like lane pressure. He needs to walk forward. I mean, I played with him on a team. I know how it is. It's like, you can't leave me alone here. You need to be here.
Yeah.
And he wants to push the lane no matter what. He doesn't really see the bigger picture, maybe. Or when I used to play with him, he wouldn't.
It's just a style of playing the game, just like Forgiven style is a style of playing the game. You can have good players, and I believe it worked for CLG because Aframu and Doublelift could just dump on kids in the laning phase. But when you hire Yellowstar, you don't expect that to happen, right?
Okay, so on on Esportspedia, rather, they don't have the schedule yet for the playoffs, but I assume it's similar to before. Like, there's a week between each of the rounds of the playoffs, right?
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there will be.
Okay.
And so it should be 2 weeks before the playoffs even start, right? Let me just double check.
Next week is promotion tournament, and then there's...
Yeah. The start date for the playoffs, it doesn't start until April 2nd.
Okay. Yep.
So this week is the promotion tournament, and then next week is the playoffs.
Okay, well, since I'm going to be away at the CSGO Major next week, let's do the first round of the playoff predictions for NA. So C9 plays TSM. Now, by what Dexter's saying, if C9 has a chance to beat Immortals, you're going to predict TSM first round exit. You ready, Dexter? You ready to get all those haters, all the TSM fans, if there are any left, all the TSM fans on board? Now, listen, I'll just give you a warning, Dexter. Me and Monty have tried this approach before. We tried predicting that Tip would beat TSM. Then we tried predicting... I think we predicted TL to beat TSM. It doesn't always work, but this time I feel like third time's the charm. Stick with it. It's gonna. What do you think, Dexter? Who you predict will win? C9, TSM.
I mean, it has to be C9 because if you look at all the games, C9 is playing so much better as a team, and Jensen is like the one strong part from TSM was always Bjergsen, but Jensen is better maybe or equal to skill right now than Bjergsen.
Yeah.
They have a better jungler currently. They not sure about the better bot lane, but Sneaky and High can just hold their own, I guess.
Yeah, TSM also isn't gonna dick them in the lane swap like Liquid did.
Well, to be fair, Liquid played like really well in that lane swap, but
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like TSM hasn't shown that same level of strength in lane swaps in already.
I just think C9 is gonna win. Yeah.
Do you think it'll be a 3-0?
I think 3-1. I think TSM is going to win the game.
Okay.
Simply because of maybe they get like the standard lane for once, and then Bjergsen and Svenskeren can work together like they did at IEM. Maybe get like a good 2-on-2 off, and then through like mechanical skill, TSM should be able to win one game. Yeah. But in the grand scheme of things, I think C9 has like a way better macro game.
Monty, who do you predict will win this series?
I agree. 3-1.
Does TSM have a chance? Is there anything they can do to win, do you think?
I don't know. They got 2 weeks to prepare, maybe.
Yeah.
Hasn't always been their strong suit preparing in this split, at least. Okay, yeah, I'm going to take TSM. I'll just say, for the lols, I'll say C9 3-0. Just say, basically, Doublelift will now get dumped in a trash can on TSM. He used to do it on CLG in the first round a lot of his career. Now he'll be doing it on TSM, showing that, much like me predicting against TSM, you can't break the habit of a lifetime, Doublelift. You can't break the habit of a lifetime, mate. So, okay, in the other matchup, we have Liquid plays NRG. Now, this is obviously quite a weird matchup, because NRG started the season strong, faded a bit, and Liquid started off fairly poor, looked like dog shit, and then actually gradually got a bit stronger. So, at the moment, Liquid and NRG, they're the 4 and 5 seed. Who do you have winning this one, Dexter?
Liquid is playing a lot better than NRG, for sure. I think Liquid is gonna take this.
NRG's had some surprising games, though, and like they really seem to depend on whether Moon actually goes off or not. That seems to be like the biggest X factor in their games.
I mean, look at the games. They win like the most retarded games. They win games through like Baron steals. It's... I don't know.
I mean, they also had some when they started playing Zillion Poppy. Like they had some pretty clean games too. So
yeah, I remember that.
That was a really good game by them. But yeah, I think Liquid probably is the better team at the moment.
Also, you have to just keep in mind that team fighting champions are coming back, like Azir and Sivir maybe, and
So Phoenix is good at his year.
Phoenix is good at this year. Like all these team fighting champions are gonna come back, and the meta's kind of shifting right now to a point where Azir is most likely gonna end up being permabanned, with Sivir being first picked or something, because that's how the game evolves, right? And 2 weeks change a lot. So I would still give it to Liquid, just because when I look at their play, they're really like on the same page. If you look at the dives they did against C9 in that game, like both dives in the top tier 2 tower and mid lane, there was like really good synergy together, and they know how to be on the same page when it comes to that, which I don't see from Energy like ever, which is, I would have to give it to Team Liquid based on like recent form in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay. See, here's the thing. Okay, so you're picking Liquid as well, Monty.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take NRG for this one. Like, so many of the Liquid wins have looked bad this season. Towards the end of the season, I'll give them credit. Some of them started to look like they had some idea of what they were doing.
Wait.
Yeah.
Weren't you the one that said it doesn't matter how the season played out, and you should just look at recent form?
Certainly.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
when it
here's the
comes to
thing.
the playoffs,
Here's the thing about NRG though. They haven't had like a 2-0 week since week 1. Right? Like they've been either going 0-2 or mostly splitting 1-1 the entire time. They haven't actually been able to put together like 2 games in 1 weekend.
But here's the thing. When it comes to the playoffs, a bunch of Team Liquid is totally inexperienced, has never played a series in their lives as a proper one in LCS. They've only played like dog shit in the challenger scene. So they've never played properly.
It's true.
NRG has a bunch of veterans. Then you look at, I mean, they have a couple of rookies, obviously, but the key positions, bunch of veterans. I think, overall, I think the NRG players are better, with the exception of Piglet. I think Phoenix is super overrated, and he's always underperforming playoffs for me. So, I think Team Liquid, for me, Team Liquid, yeah, I think this will be, here's the thing, I think this will be like a 3-2 series. I think it'll be very close, but I'm going to take NRG to win it.
All right, I can see where you're coming from there. I don't think this one is as cut and dry as the C9 TSM one, in my eyes. And also, it's worth noting when we talk about player matchups that Lorlo is a big problem on Liquid. Like, he is by far their worst player. And he's going up against Impact, and that's going to be probably a pretty one-sided affair when it comes to Impact dumpstering him.
Also, I've just decided that I'm going to double down. I'm going to message Loco, and I'm going to try and get a Lord bet going between me and him on this series. And then if NRG wins, I'm going to not have to call him Lord. So I don't know. I'll figure something out.
It's also worth noting that NRG and Team Liquid played last week, and NRG won. So
listen, I think this is a good one. I think this is one of the. I don't think NRG is a good team. Like, their roster's been a bit underwhelming to me, because I thought they'd be a lot better when I looked at who they had on paper. But I think just against Team Liquid, I think this is one of the few teams that I think they can beat in a series. So I'm taking them to do it, boys. So okay, now let's go over to
I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from on that.
Right, we'll go over to the EU LCS now. So over in Europe, we have to start with, let me see. Okay, so over in Europe, the actual regular part of the split was won by G2 by 1 game. And they only lost 3 games in the whole split. They lost 1 to Fnatic, they lost 1 to H2K, they lost 1 to Vitality. So they only lost to the 3 to, well, I guess Fnatic doesn't count, but in theory to 2 of the other best teams, and they lost 1 to Fnatic. What do you make of G2 overall, Dexter? Are they the best team?
I mean, in the last, like, if you look leading up to this last week, I would have said that there's like no clear winner between the top 3. But the last week kind of showed that Team Vitality and H2K are inconsistent maybe, or show like some weaknesses, whereas G2 was like performing really well. And I think G2 is like actually like legit. I think their jungler is the best jungler in Europe right now. Trick is super smart, like high mechanical skilled player, really, really good. And they also have Perks, which is the MVP of the split, maybe even for sure the rookie of the split.
Yeah, sure. Perks has been a really amazing surprise.
Really, really good. Yeah.
Well, especially because the big problem is, like, their main competition obviously has been H2K, but you look at H2K and there isn't a clear MVP on that team. Like, they've had so many good players and they've each like had different moments they were good, whereas G2 essentially has been largely Perks and Trick. Like, I mean, that's largely what's winning them all these games.
And Kick is playing like tanks. Yeah, Hybrid's been really
Hybrid
good
has been playing. I mean, to be fair, he's only playing 1 champion, but yeah,
all right.
He's playing really good.
Here's my problem with G2 is that yes, they're very good at playing aggressively, and they're very good at playing with pick compositions, but they also like overcommit all the time. Even when they were playing against Unicorns of Love this last weekend, I watched them. First off, so what they did was they lost all their turrets because they start out with this gank in the bot lane where they overcommit and they like forget that Lissandra has teleport in the mid lane. So Lissandra TPs down and kills both Trick and Kikis. No. Is that right? No. Yes, Trick and Kikis were in that lane at the time. Because the duo lanes were on top, the top laners were in bottom. Okay, so they give some kills over, right? To Fox and Lulex. And then they decide like later on in this game that they're going to continue to play really stupidly around the enemy double teleport. So because of this advantage, G2 or UOL rather, Unicorns start to take a bunch of turrets and they get a gold lead. And then about 15 minutes into the game, G2 decides we're going to group as 5 mid and try and push the mid turret. And then they get 2 TPs behind them and they die. And then exactly 5 minutes later, when they know the TPs are back up, they all group 5 in the mid lane where they don't have a tier 1 in mid, and then there are 2 TPs in and they all die. So like the thing about G2 for me is that they're mechanically really good, but sometimes their decision making about where people can be on the map and when they can be there is bizarre and wrong. And they play overly aggressive. They dive turrets with no real care if the enemy jungler's there or if there's a TP that can screw them over. And I've seen this again and again. And the thing is, they make picks and they play aggressively long enough that basically eventually one of their opponents is going to make an error. And they will get an advantage. And in the late game, they will get a Baron. But this is a very punishable style because if you have proper vision and you don't fall into their picks, they will be overly aggressive and give up objectives themselves. That's my opinion of G2. They're okay, but they're not the bee's knees.
What do you think, Dexter? Aside from being confused by the idiom bee's knees, and also you aren't from the 1970s, so...
Mid-20s? 1920s?
Whatever.
Yeah. It's so hard to judge G2, but overall, their late game shot calling is surprisingly good for being a rookie team, which... they lost early games like a lot of the times.
Because they do dumb shit like
they
dive people for no reason.
But it has been gotten a lot better, and actually.
I think my internet has died. Wait a sec. It will come back. Please, internet. Oh wait, I think it just lagged for a second. Right. Start again, Dexter. We should be back.
Okay, so I don't know what to make of G2, but they have lost like a lot of early games in the early season, which was kind of like the reasons why lane swaps because they hadn't had the best team communication because they have 2 Korean players too. But talking to Youngbuck, he said, it was like a really big problem, like the coaching stuff that got fixed. And I think their late game shot calling is actually like really, really good for a rookie team because they kind of managed to like turn these games where they're behind through like really good team fights that they take or decisions, which is kind of surprising, but it's really hard to know how well they would perform internationally. I would probably give the edge to like H2K internationally because they're like a more well-rounded team. They have more international experience, and there's no like clear weakness in their team. You know, they have 5 really good players. They have like a really good balance, and maybe Vitality to an extent too. I'm not sure about that one, but
I think Vitality and H2K would compete better internationally.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because they play with lower risk.
Yep. They're more calculated in what they do, and for G2 just like most of the time fighting, but I don't know how they would turn out internationally.
So Monty, why would this style for G2 not work? 'Cause, I mean, for example, not Season 5, but think of like Season 3, Season 4 Fnatic. These teams were very aggressive. These teams would take risks, and obviously they had some success internationally. They were good sometimes against top international teams. So what would it be about the top Koreans or whatever that would punish G2?
Because they'll snowball leads if you throw the game like you do, and they have better vision control, so they're going to see you coming, and then when you overextend, they'll just collapse on you and kill you, and then you're not going to get another chance to do it. In Europe right now, the teams don't punish it hard enough, so basically when they start making these errors, the teams are not able to snowball a win out of that. But if you do that to like a top tier Korean team, they're gonna fuck you.
Dexter, isn't this the part of the show where you're supposed to rave about Trick and about how wonderful he is and he's such a sick player?
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. He's the best jungler in Europe.
Yeah, he's been playing pretty well.
The thing is, he doesn't really look flashy, but the way he plays the game is he understands pressure very well as a jungler. You know, he knows where to be on the map and just pressure the advantage in a smart way, not in the way where you just brute force your way into the jungle and just hope for the best. He just knows how to play around his lanes pressure very well, which makes him like look really good too. And his mechanics are really, really good too.
Do you know how sick it is, Monty, that Kikis is going to another EU LCS semi-final, maybe another final?
Hey, he's been doing... I actually prefer him as a top laner to a jungler.
Well, yeah, because you just put him on a tank and say, listen, be a punching bag. There you go. That's your job in the team.
No. What they do is they put him on a tank, and then they never gank for him, and they screw him over in lane swaps, and then he plays Rammus, and he just runs around the map trying to get picks for the rest of his team without any farm. That's how they use him. It's weird.
Props to Kikis for finding a reason to exist. That's what we're all trying to do in life. You did it, Kikis. Well done. So, okay. We won't do any. Obviously, they don't play because they're in the semi-finals. So H2K was a team that all split long. Everyone was like, H2K is the best team. Oh, I think overall they're the best team. But here's the thing: when we talked about the off-season one, H2K is actually one of the few times where I think you could look at the team and it made a lot of sense. Because not only did they make a lot of good signings, but actually you could even kind of theory craft how they would work together, and that is how it's kind of worked. Like you could have the Forgiven style because Ryu's not like super gold hungry. Obviously, Odo Amne can play low econ style. Jankos is going to be all over the map.
Teleport, so if Forgiven gets in trouble, he can just show up down the bottom lane.
And I think it's worked out like that. So the team has kind of worked the way it should have done. So what do you make of H2K, Dexter?
So with H2K, what you have to see is H2K is a completely different roster from last year, but the playstyle is still the same, right? So I think you have to just attribute that to like the coaching stuff for adapting like what they have with the team and making the best out of it. And the style is like very clean when they play the game. They know what to do. They know how to rotate around the map, and I think they're like a really good team, well-rounded. And of course, Junkers and Banda are like really good together. Really good.
So you say that, Dexter, but maybe the real reason why the style is the same is because one of the players that's the same is Ryu. And actually, Prolly sat them all down at the beginning of the season. He said, listen, guys, whenever you've got a new lineup, you've got to figure out the style of team that you're going to use. And then Ryu just said, we play same style. And then he said, no, but you have to realize, Ryu, that you have to look at who's on the team and build the team around that. And he goes, I'm on the team. And so that's my version of a fictional Ryu.
By the way, did you see Alex tweet?
Yeah, shall I read it out? Okay, so here's the Lily, Ryu did that. So here's the really Ryu did that. So what happened was it says, Ryu sneezes. Me, this is probably talking, me, bless you. Ryu, do I have to say thank you? Me, no, but it's polite. Ryu, okay, then don't say that to me. End. I mean, the thing is, he's actually correct. Like, if you don't have to do it, then just don't say that and don't force me to. Don't oblige me to give you a cultural, like, thank you in your language. I'm Korean. I am Ryu. Bend the knee, probably. Like, good shit, right? There's another one as well, by the way, Monty. This is one I forgot to read out on a past episode, but it's also not bad. So this one is when H2K Ryu and his coach were playing in dynamic queue, then Ryu said, I'm good top, so you can go mid. And then Prolly says, is it because I'm a better mid? And then Ryu says, no, I go mid now. See? What's great is, I purposely read it, by the way, you notice, with no like flow or no like emphasis on any words when I read Ryu's part, because that's how I just imagine him saying it. I imagine him saying it like some really fucked up sassy robot. Basically, he's like a Bender from Futurama, but he plays League of Legends. That's who Ryu is as a player. Okay, so also, how insane will it be if Ryu goes to Worlds twice, but not on the KT team? So it doesn't even make any sense, does it? It doesn't make any logical sense, but okay. So, okay, what's your thoughts, Monty, overall? Now you've seen the whole split, what do you think of H2K?
I think that they're going to probably do very well in the playoffs. I have a lot of confidence in what this team is capable of, and even though I still think they fall into like the old SK Gaming trap of playing a very lane-centric style where they overextend and can be punished. It also is suiting to Vander and Jankos' playstyle because they are so invade-heavy themselves, and they work together so well that it's been working out for them so far. I think they're just the most solid, well-rounded team. I agree with Dexter that's in Europe right now.
I have a big concern about H2K, which is I look at the lineup, I'm like, this lineup looks awesome, all works together, they've got brilliant players, they should do so well, but throughout the split, there have been all these key games where they will lose to the other good teams. They lost to Vitality, they lost to G2. That game against Fnatic that decided who got to go to the IEM, they lost. And it is something I've noticed where when it's like the big game, they've lost so many times, it's kind of a bit disconcerting to me, you know. Like, it just makes me worry going into the playoffs, because obviously in the playoffs, it's all about the big game. Like, it might be like that third game in the series that decides whether you win or whether you end up having like a heartbreak loss.
Yeah, and they lost to Unicorns of Love, who actually I think is a pretty good team, so I don't really fault them for that. I think they're better than Origin, even though they have a worse record.
I mean, imagine flashing forwards in time from Spling Split Season 5. Yeah, by the way, it actually turns out that Steelback and Kikis and are the good players, and that Power of Evil and Yellowstar, they're trash. So, yeah, guys, just letting you know from the future here, you thought that was the darkest timeline? It gets darker, motherfucker. It's so dark out here, I can't even see. Like, it's okay. That's how dark it gets, mate. Steelback, better player than Yellowstar. Welcome to reality. Well, there goes gravity. So, okay.
So what went away a while ago, though.
It's true, yeah. Well, and Riot never even thought to do a feature featuring that Eminem track. So, what do you think of...
Riot doesn't have the rights to that Eminem track, Duncan.
I mean, listen, in a sort of metaphysical sense, Riot doesn't have the right to do a lot of things they do, but they do it anyway. So they claim that right. They're sort of like, it's like Prima Nocta. They just claim the right of kings, where we rule, and so we will do whatever we like. I mean, what's great about that is that's actually quite a sick burn on Riot, but no one knows what Prima Nocta means, because most of them haven't even seen the classic film Braveheart, or know anything about the history of the Celts. So anyway, moving on. We'll go now. Vitality, Dexter. Oh, I have a question to ask you beforehand. Wait a second. Since you're following Amazing, I have to give you a chance, just like all junglers on the show, to potentially burn Forgiven and explain why he's stuck in the mud, won't change his style, it's like too stubborn or whatever. What do you think of Forgiven in H2K?
I think he's very good with Vander together. They're like a really, really good bot lane, and I think he fits that team. Yeah, it's probably like his best shot at doing something with a team that he will ever get. Like, if it's not this team, then he's done, probably.
Well, he'd be in the Greek army, so yeah, you're right. It is literally this team or nothing, right? So it's this team or the Greek army. You got your choices for you, but I'd try and make the best of this one, mate. That one probably not going to work out that well.
Nah, so, but the team like supports him very well. I mean, Odramne is like a very adaptive player. He knows how to play with TP. He knows how to play low economy, and now I would say that if probably the coach can convince Forgiven to play Kalista, the team has to do something right.
I mean, that people don't realize that was like a historic moment in fucking League of Legends at that point in time. Yeah. That was just like, what is happening right now? Like that is only matched to me by the day I actually saw Forgiven lock in Sivir in Gambit, and I was like, I literally started like contacting him, like, are you feeling okay, mate? Like, listen, if you're having any really bad thoughts about life, like, don't do it, mate. Like, just stick with it. Like, you listen, they'll come back again. Eddie carries will be able to carry again. Just keep your confidence up. Don't let the world break you, Forgiven. Don't let them get to you. But he played Sivir, and now he's played Kalista. Do you think his Kalista was good?
Yeah, it was fine, I guess.
Good, so he should have been playing it all along. Great. Well, that's not what everyone said for the last year or anything.
You know, for a guy who likes lane dominant champions as much as he does, it is amazing to me that he was so resistant to playing Kalista.
But here's the thing, Monty. That is one of the... If we were to make a top 5 things Forgiven likes, lane dominant champions would be up there. But here's the key thing. It wouldn't be number 1. Number 1 would be complaining about why you lost, but you actually should have won the game. So since that's number 1, it supersedes having Kalista. And so as a result, like I tell you, that's one of the great things about Forgiven. It's like there's 2 players that I love to talk to. It's Soaz and Forgiven. Because there's like the consensus reality of what happened in a game they played where they lost. And then there's their version. And here's the thing, Monty. It's not that I think their version's right. Sometimes they make some good points. It's just that their version is so fucking entertaining. I want to hear it because it'll be better than reality. Because it's always like they go through like to even enter their version, you have to enter their reality. It's like going through the wardrobe into Narnia, and you're like, holy shit, what is this back here? And they're like, yeah, and actually, even though I died, that was actually a good thing, because I was like leading in CS, and besides he had a jungler there, so that's like doesn't really count as I died. And you're like, okay, I sort of see where you're going there. And then besides, later on, like in the game, I mean, the game was already lost because of that happening on the other part. Okay, sort of, I guess. And then at the end, who cares anyway, because we lost the game. It's like, sold? Have I joined a cult now? I don't know what happened, but you have actually broken my mind. Like you've successfully, like, basically they're sort of like hypnotists. They just lull you into a sort of trance, and they put you in a particular state, and then you become very susceptible to everything they're saying, and at the end they just go, in the back of the room, and I was actually good in that game, wasn't I? And you go, yes, you were very good. So okay, I apologize for saying that you going 0 to 5 was a bad performance. I was obviously wrong, and as you took the kind, patient approach of explaining to me, I haven't been a 3-time ULCS champion, so you are right, I am wrong, and I will never tweet at you again. So, but they win in that scenario. So here's the question: what do you think of Vitality, Dexter? Because on paper, Vitality is the team for me where none of their players looked like the best. Like, I guess you could make a case Cabashad was the best.
Cabashad is the best.
But you look at all
the best. Yeah.
You look at all the other positions, and it's like everyone's good, but no one's the best. And so I didn't know how that mix would work. You know, it's like a solid roster, but who knows what it would take. But it's actually turned out pretty well. What do you think of them?
Yeah, I think Cabashad is unbelievably good. Like the way he plays the game, and even you could even see it on last bit on the Gambit. He's like really good at just applying pressure and knowing how to use the jungler as a resource. Like if you would make the joke for Faker and Bengi, like he's this third summoner spell.
Yeah.
Shuk is Cabashad's third summoner spell. And there was this statistic, it's called jungle gravity or something, where they point out all the different statistics where if you're in a 2K radius of each other,
yeah,
there's like a percentage-wise for like the first 15 minutes of the game. And Shuk is the only jungler that is there with like the top laner, which means that Shuk enables Cabashad a lot, and Cabashad just uses the lead to just win the game, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas we have to say that Nukeduck is like a player that right now in this split, he has been getting zero attention, but he's been performing really well and even solo killing people left and right. And also his champion pool is like really good right now. Azir's coming back. He was one really good Azir player. I mean, his gangplank was fucking sick. He's a good LeBlanc player, and it's kind of like fitting into their style right now. Whereas the bot lane was always a supportive bot lane, right?
Yep.
Maybe with Kissing. But Sivir is coming back, so Hyana can play Sivir, which is really gonna be good for them as a team. And it's gonna be enabling Cabashad even harder with Sivir. Which is why I think Vitality might even win the split.
Well, okay, that's a bold statement, so we'll get back to that. I'll remember that.
Might.
So here's but here's the interesting thing, is that I kind of agree with the way you broke it down, and that's why the team makes sense. Like, the part that I couldn't have understood, is like, it's true that Nukeduck in the modern era doesn't play a super aggressive style. Like, he plays more of like a safe style, and he just takes care of himself. He had to learn to do that on fucking Lockat, because they were just like a train wreck of people just playing with no team play. So anyway, he's learned to just do what he can mid lane. The bot lane was always like, just takes care of itself anyway. They're just like the safe style bot lane. And the key part I didn't know, though, is that Shuk actually did a really smart thing. I don't know if it's the coach or if it's him, but he realised like exactly what they did on Gambit that made Cabashad so good, which is Diamond Proxy used to just 24/7 camp Cabashad's lane.
Yep. It's not the coach, it's Cabashad. Cabashad to say,
okay,
come top lane right now. I have a really big wave. Come top lane. I'm pretty sure that is how just playing for him, like with him together, Dookie and everything. He knows, like he communicates so well as a top laner, and he knows how the lane turns out. He knows what to do. He knows when the big wave is coming. He tells you in advance, like 1 minute, like, yeah, we can dive in 30 seconds. We can dive in 1 minute. I'm going to stack up the wave. His communication is really, really good. And I think Cabashad is probably like the best top laner in Europe, which enables his team by a lot. Like, the pressure he puts on the map is actually insane.
And as you mentioned, the key thing for me about Nukeduck is he'll either just play safe, or he can get kills because he plays all these weird fucking champions that are like slightly off meta. He plays the Gangplank, Quinn. Yeah, he played Zillion and won his Zillion games, if you remember.
He even solo killed Elisandra with Zillion.
He's not just spamming all the meta champions and just play, like, for example, he hasn't played Corki once. All those mid laners who just played Corki and just beat the fuck out of him and got like 17 kills, he didn't play it once, and he's done pretty well in most of the games.
He probably should play Corki, but
Listen, mate, in his own mini way, Nuke Duck is like another Forgiven. He's one of those guys who's like, this is the way I play, and I will never change.
I like the draft, too, that Vitality does. Like, I actually really like the Nasus pick that they pulled out after the Graves was banned to punish the Rammus, and I think they played the lane swap well. Obviously, that was the game we referred to earlier when G2, like, camped in the brush and got the first blood kill onto Kasing's Janna. But as a result of that play, Nasus got a huge level and farm lead. And the problem was that they got picked off, which is usually what happens to teams that play against G2 in the mid game, and then there was a Baron, and then they lost. But I think Vitality did very well in that lane swap, and I think that they had a really interesting plan going into that game.
I mean, as I've often explained, Monty, the top lane is for men. This is not a place for your pussy little support players and people who just want to play a safe and play around the team. Top lane is where men go to battle 1 versus 1, and often, like little coward little snitch bitches, they have a little doo-doo rushes in. Like, you know, in every true fight of warriors, you know, there's the 2 warriors going. A true fight is like the end of Lethal Weapon 1, okay? You're supposed to all pull back and allow a true 1v1 to occur. This is the scene, money, and no one's supposed to intervene, even if the good guy is losing, okay? Instead, in League of Legends now, there's always some little sneak dick monkey who runs in there and shanks someone in the back while he's trying to fight like a true warrior, and that's what ruined top lane, okay? That and then the way people, that and then the way people became ninjas and start throwing smoke bombs at the ground and twirling around and disappearing to the bot lane. Stay where you're supposed to be and fight like a man. Stand your ground, coward. Do not disappear to another part of the map. So anyway, that's one of the problems right there. Top lane's not for ninjas. That's why Shen's banned. So what I like about Cabashad is he plays the top lane like a man. He plays the carry champions. He drafts to get the champion to dominate his lane. And you know what, Monty? If there's one thing I love, it's alpha drafts. It's when an alpha male drafts a champion. He went, there we go. We got the plug in. You thought it was going to be analysis. It wasn't analysis. It was all to get back to the alpha draft. So we're back there now. So here's the question, Monty.
It's all right, Thorin. We're used to not hearing analysis from you. No one was fooled.
Well, I mean, I obviously could have just compared stats of Cabashad in spring 2015 and Cabashad in spring 2016 on totally different champions with totally different teammates and totally different meta, and then you would all hail me as the new Jat, but instead I just tried to stick to stuff that happened now, so woe is me. I've ruined my own chances of being an analysis. So, Monty, is Cabashad the best Western top laner? Cabashad versus Huni.
Your meme gumbo game is quite strong.
It's good, isn't it? Sick, isn't it? So, Cabashad versus Huni, how do you break it down?
Versus Huni?
As in, not directly, but I mean as the best Western top laner.
Why is Odoamna not there in the discussion?
Okay, put those 3 in. Who is the best Western top laner? By the way, that means plays in a Western region.
That's hard to say, actually. I'm not sure how I would rank Cabashard compared to Huni right now. They have a lot of like the similar aggressive style and desire for lane dominance, and like weird pocket picks that they can pull out seemingly at will.
I can help you, Monty.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Look at both games Gambit played against Fnatic last split. When Gambit,
I don't remember them, so
it was like the closest 2 games that Fnatic would have lost because of Cabashard.
Okay. There you go.
So Cabashad wins, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm just giving food for thought here, right? But
what is these disclaimers right now? Hashtag just saying, hashtag food for thought, hashtag discussion, please, guys.
No, but those 2 games, Gambit looked really good based on the top lane. Because Cabashad was Huni.
I honestly don't remember those games, so I can't really comment on it.
Okay. I remember one of them was pretty close, that last one in the city. That's when everyone was hyping Gambit, like, is they the team who could beat Fnatic? And then Riot was like, fuck you. And then that was the end of everyone's hopes at that point in time. So, okay. So, okay, like we've done, is there which other team stands out of EU? Is there another team we should discuss? Because we've done the top 3, basically.
I mean, you can Fnatic and Origin, I guess.
Yeah, let's do a quick bit on that. Okay, so Origin has obviously come on strong late in the split.
With XPK being back.
What do you actually... Like, here's the thing. With so many veterans, people are going to want to think, right, well, they can make a playoff run, etc., etc. Is that storyline starting to come to fruition? Do you think it will happen, Monty?
No, I don't. I think XPK definitely has improved the team, and, like, they've gone 4-0 in their last 2 weeks, but it's also important to remember that the teams they've played have been Rocket, the UOL one was legit. Rocket, UOL, Giants, and Fnatic. So they really haven't played any of the top 3 teams with that roster, and I wouldn't be confident in them going into the playoffs.
Dexter, Origin, what do you think?
I think they're gonna go top 4. They're gonna win the first round probably, and then get knocked out by whatever team they face.
Okay. So, what about Fnatic? Because the thing with Fnatic is they've got their own hype, which is they have won a number of big games over the split, even though they finished with like a tied record. And more importantly, at IEM, they found the Jin pick. They made that like progression through the tournament. They beat some big name teams. So, is Fnatic gonna surprise us at the end of the split?
No. If they,
Nope.
I mean, you look at IEM, they've progressed really well throughout the whole tournament. They come back to Europe and it's like IEM didn't exist. They do the same mistakes. They get caught out of position. They play with like, I feel like they play with like zero respect to like TP, and they often get caught out at like really bad times.
They've also gone, 1-3 since they came back from IEM, and the only team they've beaten is Giants.
Monty, I've got a theory for you here. I've often okay, here we go. I'll make an even bigger theory. I've often, because I like sci-fi and I like stories that are like very psychedelic, like they change the boundaries of what you thought was possible in your mind and the way you perceive reality. One thing I've always thought about is, what if, I think I've mentioned this on a past episode by the numbers, so what if there actually isn't any plane travel and what you're actually doing is traveling to alternate dimensions? It's the fact, this is how bad this show's got on money. I can't even remember if I've said this theory before about the fact plane travel might not be real and you might be traveling in alternate dimensions. So anyway, the reason why I say it is because I think that it turns out Katowice, Poland is an alternate dimension. Not for the reasons you're worried that I'm going to say it is, but actually, it's not some sort of nether dimension on the other side, the night side of Eden of the Tree of Life money. No. The reason why I'm saying this is because, think about history. So the first IEM Katowice event, Gambit was like a slumping team. They weren't doing that well. And suddenly they beat Blaze and Frost, two of the best teams in the world. Then they go back home. They don't even win the ULCS split. Blaze is the best team. They're doing really well throughout the split. Then you go forwards in time. You go to 2014 IEM Katowice. KT Bullets has this sick run all the way to the final. Everything goes super duper well there. Fnatic comes back from like a little slump they were in. They make the final. Everyone's like, wow. But then KT Bullets goes home. Yeah, they're not that good actually. They hadn't just turned it all around. They were still not that great a team. 2015, we come to 2015, TSM wins IEM, but World Elite makes it there. World Elite beats GE Tigers, one of the best teams in the world, makes it to the final. World Elite goes home. World Elite isn't a good team. You go back home, Tigers is still a pretty good team. They finished second overall in the league. 2016, also in 2015, SK did badly, but still did well at the end of the split. C9 did terribly, but made it to the final of that split. You come to 2016, like we've got all these teams. The Chinese teams all do really badly. Fnatic does really badly. I think that it's just an alternate dimension that they go into, and then in that, the rules are slightly different about what happens in League of Legends. Different teams win, but then when they get on the plane / dimension travel device, they go back to their own dimension, our dimension, and in our dimension, the normal rules apply, and they lose, and the things... basically, I've got it for you, Money. Katowice is the Bizarro world. Now, I could have gotten there for a more offensive way. Katowice is the Bizarro world. The rules don't apply there. It's the opposite. And when you come back to the real world, reckless and lose. That's all I'm saying. There we go. That's my theory. Thoughts? Any thoughts on that theory?
No. I have no fucking thoughts on that.
No thoughts. Okay. Trying to hashtag just saying. Hashtag open polls. Okay, so... Now we got to do the actual playoffs. So in the playoffs, in the first round, we have Vitality versus Fnatic. Now, based on everything you said here, Dexter, who's going to win?
Vitality 3-1.
I'm going to go Vitality 3-0.
Why?
Because I don't think Fnatic has been impressive at all coming back after their run at IEM. Vitality, I think, was relatively convincing in their win versus Fnatic 2 weeks ago, and Fnatic has also lost to Elements and during that time. So I'm not exactly convinced that they're a strong team or that they're reliable when it comes to pulling out these victories. And I think Vitality is quite good.
So, Dexter, here we go. Right,
And you could argue Vitality lost to Rockcap too, but I think Vitality will pull it together and come in with a strong game plan for playoffs.
So the key thing here, Dexter, is the top lane. So we've got Gamsu against Kabashad. As we've just discussed, Kabashad, all-star level top laner, one of the best top laners in the West, candidate for best top laner in the West. Meanwhile, Gamsu, as far as I can tell, his only notable feature is having a head that looks exactly like one of those Lego heads. You know, like it's a round sort of cylinder that you could take off and put another head on. Sadly, they can't put another head on his shoulders. He's only got Gamsu's head. So he's going to get wrecked in the top lane. Then you go to the mid lane, Nuke Duck Febiven. I call that one a kind of a toss-up. You don't think Nuke is going to get wrecked. Febiven can't do much, though, because he's just against Nuke Duck, so that'll be fine. Bottom lane, there's nothing going to happen there, by the way. Bottom lane, that's not even any sort of a war scenario. That's actually old-fashioned 1920s hard-working Americans living in like the Dust Bowl, trying to have farms next to each other, just working along. How you doing there, neighbour? All right there, Mr. Reckless. And how are you doing on your farm, sir? Well, Mr. Hyanan, I think I'm just, the crop's coming in early this year. Yep. Well, see you at the market later then. And then all they're going to do is just farm next to each other, and then fucking every now and then they'll meet and sing Kumbaya and dance in a circle, but no one will die, and they'll go back to their respective farms, and you better not look at my daughter, okay, because she's only 15. And that's all that's going to happen in the bot lane there. There'll be nothing else going on, and basically, unless the jungler, who is obviously like the young stud from the other farm, who tries to come and sneak in and get to his daughter, unless that happens, and he gets to young Reckless, then nothing will happen there. It'll be all about the top lane. So I'm taking Fnatic to lose 0-3, Vitality, all hail Lord Kabashad, who will finally eliminate Fnatic before the final of an LCS. And not only that, oh boy, those Fnatic fans, just listen boys, get ready. Your butts are going to be spanked good and proper. First by Vitality, then by me on Twitter. I'm going to be just slapping butts all day like I was a member of the 2 Live crew. Okay, Dexter, what do you think? Vitality versus Fnatic?
Yeah, 3-1 Vitality. 3-1. It's going to be very one-sided, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And so, Origin, I always do it every episode. I like every now and then I pretend like that's really the way you say Origin. I say Origin, and then I remember, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. Also, this is my language, Xpeke. It's Origin. So, also Reckless. It's Reckles. So shut the fuck up. So, Origin versus Unicorns of Love. Who will win, Dexter?
I think Origin's gonna win, but it's gonna be probably a 5-game series. I think depending on who they start, it has to be Xpeke. I mean, Origin would be really dumb to just let Power of Evil play a game based on recent like games and success. I don't think that the team works with Power of Evil as well as they do with Xpeke.
Okay, Monty, who do you think is going to win this series?
I think UOL will win it 3-2. I think that UOL has some strong ideas about map control right now, and I think that they're quite good in their early game rotations, and they can punish some of Amazing's over advances into the jungle, but it'll be a close series.
See, this is where I almost, you'll notice, if you notice a trend to how I usually pick series, it's very rare that I pick against players who are really experienced and really good. I usually always like players determine a lot of how I pick, but I'm actually going to go with Unicorns of Love here. Even though when I look at their lineup, I mean, fuck it all, mate. This is like, there's so many mediocre or like slightly above average players in this team. I mean, fuck it. I'm basically picking Lulex to beat Soaz and Xpeke in a Mithy in a best of 5, and I'm doing it, motherfucker. You know what, Lulex? Well, this time your ass is going to be, you're going to have a chastity belt on your ass this time, mate. You're going to be safe as can be. Amazing's not going to get in there. You're going to win the series. Steelback has amazed me this season. He's actually been consistently pretty good. He hasn't been an all-star, obviously. Don't be ridiculous. But he's improved a lot. And he's not that like reckless 0.5 that he used to be in Fnatic. He's actually like a solid player, so he's consistent. Then you look around the game, okay, Fox has had a history of not being that good in like series type scenarios, but I don't think it's going to matter. To me, Origin's a big mess and they have no idea what they're doing in terms of macro play, so love Mithy, but that's not enough to win a series. I'm taking Unicorns of Love to win this one.
You have to see it on the bright side. If Origin loses, you can invite Amazing back in the show and then listen to his scenario, what would have happened if...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Even better. It's like a public version of the Forgiven scenario, I reckon, before. Except that, whereas with theirs, I'm like, wow, what a brilliant, unique thinker. With Amazing, I'm just thinking like... I'm just thinking, like, man alive. I mean, do you need some sort of therapist or something, mate? Like, there's no way to live a life. There's no way to live. So, okay, let's do a little bit of Korea and then wrap the show, because Korea's the last region to do. So, okay, over in Korea,
China is not even a thing.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. All right, land it out.
We'll have like a Chinese expert on at some point to talk about that stuff and explain, also in their own amazing style, explain why like losing is actually like a good thing. That's like building character or something. You know, well, I don't know what they're going to come up with. What I like is they always have something to come up with. They've always got something, haven't they? So you never know with Chinese.
What's funny is like I get to know more because more and more like Korean coaches are going over to China, so I get to hear a lot about how the Chinese teams operate these days, and just unbelievable like lack of control over the players, even in like pick and ban phases on stage, and the players just do whatever the fuck they want.
Monty, on that line, nothing will beat that IEM story, which to this day I still don't know if it was supposed to be a meme or not. You know, the one where, okay, for anyone who doesn't know, anyone who doesn't watch LPL, let me just let you in on a little tidbit that's kind of important for what happened in IEM. The best AD carry on Xiaogu is Peko, formerly TNT. Now, not as an individual player, sure, Uzi is probably better, but in terms of fitting the style of the team, he is a better style, because Peko is like a hybrid. Like, he'll play a supportive style, he'll play like more strong champions. So, for example, when you want to play something like Ezreal, you want Peko in there. That's what he's really good for. Now, the reason supposedly that was tweeted as to why Peko did not play at IEM and why Uzi did play is not, as you might naively think as a Westerner, because Xiaogu wanted to play Uzi. Supposedly, the reason was that when they went up to the stage, Uzi was already on stage, sat at a PC, and then they were like, well, what, coach, I thought I was playing. Yeah, but Uzi on the PC at the moment. We'll just get him off there. We couldn't do something like that. Don't be silly, boy.
No,
can't you see? Listen, let him have his go first. That's what Kelsey tweeted. It might have been a meme. Boy. But the very fact that meme seemed plausible. The very fact that meme seemed plausible, though, Monty, I have to at least think about it, remember? Dude, Insec, do you remember when he did that jump out the window and broke his... I thought that was a joke at first. I thought it was like some sort of really edgy joke about doing an Insec kick. It actually happened in real life.
All right, yes, I'm pretty sure
Vasily smashed up a whole PC just because he lost a solo queue game.
All right,
China is also another dimension. Right. China is another dimension.
As I understand it, that thing about Vasily actually did happen. But
yeah.
the other thing is, like, first off, that's a joke that Kelsey made.
Okay.
And second off, as hilarious as that joke is, SK Telecom at least seemed to be using blank because it was a time for them to test their new jungler without it affecting anything at all that they actually cared about in terms of their regional success, right? And so they used him, because it was a good chance to get a stage experience for him in something that effectively didn't matter to SKT or to anybody. So maybe Chalco was doing the same thing. I don't know.
Anyway.
Not that Uzi doesn't have stage experience, but like it's a chance for you to play with different players in your real lineup in real games that don't have as much of an impact as your success in the domestic league.
So over in Korea, Rock's still imperious. They've only lost one series total. In fact, they've only lost 5 games so far this season. What do you think of Rock's Tigers, Dexter?
Oh,
I mean, they're the best team in the world, probably still. So
well, you don't have to put probably still. Just say they are. There we go. They're the best.
Okay. I mean, they lost that one game, but that series was really, really nice to watch for sure. But yeah, they're just the best. They have so many good players, and if you watch them play, at 6 minutes they just dive mid lane with 5 people. Out of the sudden, there's like 5 people in the mid lane, and they just dive. I don't know what's happening in the communication, but all right, we're gonna dive mid lane in 1 minute, push out the lanes, boys, invade the jungle, set up vision, we dive. I don't know.
It is actually really impressive, their coordination. And they could do it, like, they surprise me. Like, I'm my job is just to watch the game, and sometimes like they just all appear and I haven't even seen them move on the minimap because I'm not expecting them to be there at that time.
Yep.
Monty,
really good.
Here's my question for you, Monty. If we look at a team like Immortals and they dumpster a bunch of the games in NALCS, it's easy to go, yeah, but they don't play the best style, it wouldn't necessarily work internationally, blah, blah, blah. Rocks Tigers don't necessarily play the most efficient style. They don't just like ward up. They don't just play super safe.
No,
they just
dumpster
dumpster people. So, is there any concern for you that this style is going to be altered as it goes forwards, or it can't work going forwards?
I mean, even Spenu in the early game, I think of the Rocks Tigers like a better version of G2. Like, even Spenu in the early game was out trading them because Rocks will overcommit for kills and then give up cross-map turrets or something like that and not get a turret themselves. But the thing is that they will play. Eventually, they will get a pick or an advantage onto you and then take a huge number of objectives at the same time. I do think their warding is an issue, for sure. They have the lowest wards per minute out of any team in Korea, which kind of problematic. I was tweeting the other day some funny statistics, though. At the time,
okay, here's a segment, Monty's funny statistics. Come on, then.
So at the time, this was true. It's actually changed a little bit now. But if the Rocks Tigers, the worst warding team, were in the NALCS, they would be now, they were 4th place at the time. They would now be 5th place in terms of wards per minute. And if Immortals, the top warding team in the NALCS, was in Korea, they would be 8th place in terms of wards per minute. So that even the worst team in Korea would be average in NA, and the best team in NA would be in the bottom 3 teams in wards per minute in Korea. So even though the Rocks Tigers don't ward as much as other Korean teams and don't have the same level of vision control, you can argue that because Peanut is more of an invading jungler, that he actually gets vision through just like looking at the other jungler and seeing if they're there or not, which is also true. So they do need fewer wards, but that only works when he can play these very aggressive junglers. If there's like a tank jungle meta, I don't know if the Rocks Tigers can sustain their style. That's my major concern. Is like a jungle meta shift might really fuck them up.
So why is that then? Because Dexter, okay, so for example, a team like SK Telecom, you will often see Bengi go for the tracker's knife, and obviously it's going to be placing more. Why do Korean teams place more wards? I mean, this obviously isn't a skill aspect at this point in time. It's purely something to do with game knowledge. What do you think? What's your theory?
I don't know. I guess it's just how they play the map. They really like, they understand that if you do something, like they understand the effects of if the enemy team doesn't move, what they have to do in order to regain control of the map or to mirror it, which most of the teams don't know what to do. For example, if the jungler is on the bot side of the map, you see what should happen is the enemy, like your jungler, goes in the top side of the map and wards the entire top jungle and plays on that side of the map. And I guess they're just way better at just facilitating the entire map with that and use their support too to accomplish that. Because not only the jungler can do that, the support can do that too. If the jungle is on the top side or there's a 2-on-2 on the map, you see the support is roaming in the bot side of the jungle and setting up vision that way. It just general understanding, I guess, of the game, what everyone has to do specific. That's like, they're just better at the game, I guess, how to play.
Is Peanut the best jungler?
They buy more pink wards too.
Yeah, and pink wards. And Peanut's the best jungler. I mean, maybe. Yeah.
He's the best jungler in this meta, that's for sure. We didn't get to see enough of him last year to really judge in the Cinderhulk meta, I feel, how good he was. I think he's worse in a tank jungle meta, but I don't know how he or the team would adapt under those circumstances. So right now, I would say he's excellent, but he also plays with some super dominant lanes and the best support in the world to help him out and like tell him what to do and where to be alongside Gorilla. So there's that factor to it too. Sure. I think there are a lot of really strong junglers in Korea right now, though.
Yeah. Korea has really good, like 3 really good junglers.
Like, obviously, LCK isn't like LCS. It's not over yet. There's still a bunch of games. I think it's like, most people have like, what, like 4 or 5 games still to play, I think. So, well, series. Yeah. So there's still a bunch still to play. Is there
teams have right now, let me just take a look. Yeah, on average 4 to 5 is accurate. Some of the teams still have 6.
Okay, so at the moment, Rocks Tigers is...
No team has 6, never mind.
Rocks Tigers is
it... Freaks have 6.
Rocks Tigers is at 12-1. How many more series do you think they lose by the end of the split? So they've got 5 to play.
Well, their schedule is CJ, Kongdu, KT, Africa, Jin Air.
So
they
basically,
they could feasibly lose to either KT or Jin Air.
okay. So where would this season rank in terms of all-time dominant type seasons, etc.?
Pretty fucking high, actually, because the average level of skill among the Korean teams right now is much better than it was last year. For example, the top 7 teams and even the Africa Freaks, who have managed to take a game off the Tigers and upset SK Telecom in a best of 3, are looking at least somewhat threatening to the top teams. But the top 7 teams are all quite good, so it's hard to tell.
I mean, the key difference to me is in the summer split of last year, there was also that massive like tie for second place and third place. If you remember, there was like a stack of teams. The difference is, beyond those teams, everyone else was a fucking joke. Like, I think Anarchy had that one miracle win, and that was about it. Difference is, Africa Freaks have won a bunch of games. Africa Freaks have only won one less game than Samsung and 2 less than SK Telecom in terms of actual individual games.
There is a very clear difference, which is obvious because it's also reflected in the standings, between the top 8 teams in Korea and the bottom 2. Spedu and Kongdu are both 1 and 13. Spedu is 6 and 26. Kongdu is 6 and 27. The 8th place team has 4 more best of 3 wins and is 14 and 17. So even in game score is just barely below 500. It's pretty impressive. So in this world where 2 through 8 are all very competitive teams, the fact that Rox has only lost 5 games and gone 12 and 1 is extremely impressive.
So beyond Rox, what's interesting is the second place team currently is Jin Air Green Wings. Now, they have only won 2 series less than Rox Tigers. That's pretty insane when you consider it's Jin Air, and they lost, in theory, their 2 best players, GBM and Chaser, and now Trace has to basically be the star of the team. What do you think of this team, Dexter? Do you have any thoughts on it?
I mean, the first half looked like really good, right? And then now we just have to see how the rest is. I haven't watched every single game of them, but it feels like that, for example, SKT is on the rise right now, and I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I mean, they're really good, and like you said, Trace is solo carrying their team, maybe, but I don't buy it. Like, I don't think the stats right now represent their skill level, maybe. Maybe they're like... I would say SKT is probably going to overtake them by the end of the season.
Well, they did lose to SKT last week, but they also put KT in the dumpster the week before. They beat CJ this week, and that was CJ's first loss with BDD. I think Jin Air is still a very good team. I think Winged has stepped up. I think it's amazing that Trace went from a Rumble Maokai only player last season to having a massive like carry champion pool that I've never seen from him before. And it's even more impressive because he's like the oldest professional player in the world. He's like 28. So I don't know where this came from. Like, very weird transformation for Trace to have this late in his career.
What's great as well is like in the past he was like kind of a gimmicky top, like he'd have like a weird pick.
Rengar.
Now he has all the gimmicks and he has a super strong champion pool as well. So now it's like he's got it all basically. It's super hard to ban against him.
Yeah, and he's always been an innovative player. Even last year he was the one who invented like Morgana top and Nautilus top and Rek'Sai top, and this time he invented Graves top. Like he has a really good mind for the game, and not only that, he plays these picks, like he's really good at playing these pressure top laners like Morgana and Graves and just like killing your turret super fast by himself and then just piecing out of the lane. And Winged has been a very pleasant surprise. Kuzan has been super good too. He's one of the best mid laners in Korea right now. Pilot is a little hit or miss. He's probably Pilot and Che, their duo lane is probably like the weakest part of that team. But even they have had their moments. So,
I actually think that having like pocket picks when you're one of the best is underrated. As in, here's the problem. Half the time we have to talk down pocket picks because it's players who aren't that good at meta champions and they just play some weird pocket pick and you find out they can only play those two things.
The Keen effect. That's what they call it.
So the problem is usually we're having to downplay it. Like there's a reason they don't play the meta picks. When you're one of the best players and you have a bunch of pocket picks, that's when you're like unreal. Because now the team has to choose. Do we ban out his pocket pick, which usually isn't a strong meta champion, therefore probably pushing him onto a fucking meta champion, which if he's really good on, he might beat us on as well? Or do we leave the pocket pick and then lose to it, and then everyone goes, oh, he always wins when he's on fucking whatever, Morgana, you know, just some shit that like no one else is playing that much. So
yeah, and that's the problem that like obviously people have against Faker, because it's like at any point in time, Faker can play Riven to an unbelievable degree. Any point in time. And it doesn't matter if Riven is meta or not. He did it last year in game 3 of the finals against KT. No one was fucking playing Riven mid, and he picked it and he just styled on Nagne's Cassiopeia. So how do you plan for that? You can't. He just has it, and you have to deal with it.
Monty, Faker's unbeaten LeBlanc, dead. Faker's unbeaten Zed, dead.
It's the Riven is the dream
Riven.
now.
Hold me, please. Don't take Riven from us, please. We need it, Faker. Please, Lord Faker. Oh, that was sad, wasn't it? Here's the thing, Zed is not a good champion right now. If even Faker can't make it work, it's not going to happen, guys.
Zed's okay. Zed's okay.
But if even Faker can't make it work, come on. That's a bad sign right there. It's a bad state of affairs. What do you think about the fact that... So we'll move on to SKT. What do you think about the fact that SKT looks like are sticking with Blank? Bengi at the moment isn't in the lineup. What do you think of this, Dexter? What did you make of Blank?
Good. He's really good. He's a really good mechanical jungler. He is better at carry champions. I guess he's a better Nidalee than Bengi, better Graves.
Bengi doesn't play Nidalee.
Yeah, he can't play Nidalee probably. But right now in the current meta, it's just smart to have this jungler play the game, because it's a lot more about dueling, mechanical intensive junglers. But keeping Bengi on the roster is gonna be really important once the meta shifts again. And around Worlds, we're gonna see tanks again, maybe. I mean, Nidalee's getting nerfed next patch. They're gonna tune down a lot of the carry power. Maybe we see Bengi in the next splits playing a lot more games then. I don't know. It's really good to have both junglers around for sure.
Because we have to be real. Even though SK Telecom was still a decent team, they had dropped a lot, and primarily Bengi was one of the reasons. It did allow me to bring out that old trash can image that that guy did a great job of photoshopping, where Bengi was in a trash can outfit like Oscar the Grouch, because that was classic season 4 material there, guys. I know a lot of you weren't around then. That's what we used to laugh at back then. We also used to laugh at Wild Turtle. Not so much anymore. But anyway, what do you think, Monty, of the future of the jungle position of SKT?
So let me relay to you an interesting statistic. Bengi, as a player, has never in his entire career played a game of Nidalee.
Okay.
So he's obviously crap in this meta where SK Telecom wants to first pick Nidalee like they do whenever it's available for Blank. He has played more games of jungle Wukong than he has played of jungle Nidalee.
Okay.
That's a big problem right now where Nidalee is such a valuable pick. He also was a very awkward Graves player. He has never played Kindred. He is consummately like a Rek'Sai, Nunu, Gragas, Jarvan, Evelynn player, Elise player. These are his big champions. Vi too. He actually has a 90% win rate on Vi professionally. He's 9-1. So if these champions come back, perhaps there is something that can be done.
Okay.
But yeah.
So they're just waiting with Bengi, basically.
Yeah. I think that's how it has to be. I agree with Dexter. And for right now, Blank, I think, is the player that they need. Blank, I think, is still pretty farm heavy in the way that he plays, and he's not like a heavy ganking or duelist jungler that we see. He's still mostly just a farmer. He reminds me more of Ambition than any other jungle in the league right now.
See, the thing with Bengi is like a compost heap in the garden. What you're going to do is, you can't just leave it just there and do nothing. You have to constantly update it. You have to tend to that pile of shit, and then eventually something beautiful can grow out of it as a result. It will be the fertilizer that will allow other things in the garden to grow. So you've got to keep that pile of shit in the corner and work on it and keep it up to date. And then when you need to, you spread it all around the map, and it makes the whole garden beautiful. See, I'm only here for the analogies, Dexter. I don't know anything about League of Legends, but I'm here to call players shit, sometimes literally and metaphorically, and then explain how metaphor doesn't really fit, but if I crowbar it enough, sort of fits, and then we wrap the show with some alpha draft shit. So there's another team I want to talk about, which is KT Rolster. Now, the thing I want to ask about with KT Rolster is they kind of feel a bit underwhelming, because I keep looking at it. It feels like they should be the second best team in Korea. But something's missing. Something lacks. What is it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just a someday fanboy that knows that put everyone in the dumpster. But I'm not sure what they're missing to like get that small edge over the other teams.
Their draft has been pretty shit. Against Jin Air, like they played like Jugger Draven with like Lulu and 3 tanks and Draven. I was like, what are you even doing right now, KT? So when they, and also Fly, I think it's a very limited champion pool. So if like, for example, he can't really carry that hard, and while Someday has been great on Poppy and Fiora and GP this season, if he doesn't get one of those champions, Fly like can't take the slack for that. He flies like a Lulu Zillion Lux player. So he's more utility based, which puts more emphasis on Someday to carry. So it's the team lives and dies by Someday, basically.
So okay, the last team I'll ask about, because obviously, like we could go over Samsung, CG, and other episodes. The one team I want to ask Dexter's opinion of though has got to be Longzhu, because Longzhu on paper, they're the TSM of Korea. They had the lineup on paper that looked super sick, and everything was brilliant. And then now they've lost all these games. They still are confused about what lineup to use. And in theory, they had the best jungler, and now, what do you make of it? So what do you make of Longzhu overall?
I think they didn't really have, like, they didn't find the right combination of players, I would say, with their roster. I mean, if you look at the roster, they have 10 really good players that should be able to win more than, how many games they win? 5?
6.
5? 6? Okay, 6. Yeah, I mean, you have Flame in the top lane, he's been playing fine, and I don't know, I guess it's just like a TSM scenario, yeah, where maybe the communication is off, maybe the shot calling is not right there. I mean,
the shot calling isn't there. They're a good early game team, but they can fall apart late. Some of their drafts are a little weird too, from time to time.
Yeah, for me, just like they didn't really. I don't know. It's hard to like develop any kind of synergy if you have 10 people on the roster, I think, and play around. If you have like the right combination of 5 players that work together well, and you have the star player, of course, with the support players, then it's fine. But I guess they didn't really find it. I mean, that's like the only explanation I have why this superstar team is not working out.
Well, they also like put a bunch of these players together very quickly before the season started. So I think we'll see better things from Longzhu maybe next season. But I thought they'd get it together faster than they have. I expected they'd do pretty not great in the first round robin, but by the second round robin, they'd be actually moving up the rankings, but that really hasn't happened.
They've also got a mad scenario going on with the top lane where basically if you play Expression, that should be because you're going to play Poppy this game. If you play Flame, that means you'll be playing Gangplank. Like,
well,
that's
Gangplank is always banned
what they
against
do
Flame now, so
it better be. Here's the thing, Flame was even like out CSing on Gangplank with no jungle help. So you can do that against every top lane. You're pretty good at laning at that point in time. Unfortunately, wasn't very good on Poppy himself though, whereas Expression was pretty good on Poppy when he played him. If you had to guess now, Monty, what lineup do you think they should use for the playoffs? You've got the full 10 to pick from. What do you think the best one you've seen so far?
I think they should just stick with Flame, Chaser, Coco, and then Fury had such a fucking shit game, a couple of games on Jin. Like, I think you just put Captain Jack back in there and Pure.
Does it not matter that Fury's like just coming back now and maybe he gets better?
He can get better, but he can do it in scrims and solo queue and not like playing the world's worst Jin on stage and like randomly using QSS and then flashing out the back of the Baron pit to die to a Kindred. Like, I don't know.
What's funny though? Was pretty hilarious though.
That clip, I was like watching it, I was like, what is he doing? Yeah, it's bad.
Maybe he was fulfilling his destiny that he was supposed to be an NALCS player, remember, Monty? Or was it an NA Challenger? I can't remember.
He was going to be on TDK instead of...
That's right, okay. Because obviously, remember, logically, guys, the best Koreans tend to go to NA Challenger teams, not NALCS teams, because that's the world we live in. The timeline gets darker every moment. Like, every time you think the timeline's as dark as it can get, Dexter, you find out, like, OQ's going to some Challenger team, and then they lose or something like that. Is this in real life right now? I can't handle it. So okay, but there's always a way out, Dexter. Never give up hope. Like, if you're a top level player stuck on an NA Challenger team, Monty has set up sort of like a what was that called? Oh, I can't remember the name of it now. what was that, Midnight Railroad or something? Monty's set up a way that you can escape the challenger scene through a back door and enter a team. Only downside is you'll be back in challenger soon enough. So it's only like you get a temporary stay of execution, but you are on death row and you will eventually be killed. So yeah, it doesn't always work out. Okay, on that note, Dexter, do you have any final words for the people who watched this episode, or about your career or anything?
About my career? I mean, what is there to say? It's I think we covered that in the last episodes.
Okay.
Right? You taking shots at me for being in CLG, Monty just being there for the camera, etc., etc.
Yeah. All the memes. Yeah.
All the memes. Yeah. No, but,
wait, we forgot. Wait. How could I forget this? I cannot let this episode end, Dexter, without asking you. So you know, Seraph is back in the NALCS, and he's doing well. He's winning some games, and he's even BMing junglers. This time on the other team. I mean, he's expanded his game. Now he BMs junglers on the other team that he doesn't like, European junglers. Yep. But you famously had kind of a friction with Seraph. He actually literally told you to never come to his lane again. Not even just in that one game, forever. He just and basically his plan from going on is, even if CLG became good, got to the World Finals, he doesn't want you anywhere near his lane. Fucking scrub jungler, get away from me. You are cancer. Like that. Basically, that's like a translated version of what he's tried to say. So, what do you think of Seraph?
So good at speaking Korean.
I know. What do you think of Seraph's return?
I mean, what should I say? He's been doing fine. He is been playing a lot better than he used to be when he was my teammate, and I guess everything is working out well for him. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I mean, he has. I wonder how long it will take until he tells his current jungler to never go top again.
But here's what you haven't thought about, Dexter. You know, the problem is that you and him were never friends. So everyone at the moment's memeing on Crumbs. They're like, oh, dumbs, smarts. The key thing about Crumbs is him and Seraph are chums. That's what he managed to do that you never did, Dexter. You became friends with him. He brought the young man under his wing. You were too busy trying to look cool for Double Lift and Link and all that. Like, oh, I'm this European jungler, man. Like, yeah, look, I'm so dangerous. They tried to keep me out of America, man. They tried to put me in a maximum security prison, but I escaped. And if I am not captured, I will run riot across the NALCS. So many good memes there. The other thing is, my obvious analysis, I say analysis, just another joke, but pretending to be analysis. My obvious analysis of the scenario is the reason why Seraph's doing well is AD Carry trusts him. And in the end, I think we've all learned it's all about trusting each other. It's not about trying to look cool for the cameras. It's not about trying to just abuse broken champions like Elise. It's all about trust. And if we all trust each other, if we all band together, Dexter, we're stronger together than we are apart. Now, that'll be $7,000. I'm Mind Games Walden, and thank you for watching Summoning Insight. This was sponsored by Alpha Draft, and that's the end of the show. I'm going to press stop record.